All right, chat. Welcome in. Welcome back. Hey, yo, we're firing back up after some classic Rem and Sam technical difficulties. Hey, yo, maybe we don't put those on Sam, chat. It is what it is. I don't know. Does OBS ever crash for Kai Cenat? We'll have to go check the tapes. But we're still here. We're still live during the late window of Week 6 of the NFL. And you see the Panthers in the background. We were recapping, of course, what we thought ended up being the primetime game of the day. The Cowboys-Panthers. I mean, what we were saying initially was, not necessarily maybe the most highly anticipated early window we've had of all the weeks, and just this day in general, not necessarily an A-plus day, I would say, matchup-wise. Though, the Sunday night game maybe does have potential to be good, and, the Monday night game is interesting as well, too. The Bears are just an intriguing team at this point still with Caleb Williams, and Washington, as they continue to, round into form, get healthy, they will potentially, be a really fun team as well, too, as they're actually playing, well. And, again, they have talent that still even has a couple of levels continue to play better. But, yeah, Chad, Ayo, speaking of unlocking, a couple levels, playing better, Rico Dowdle just torching his team. And, credit to the Panthers for, like we were saying last time, continuing that obviously impressive run game, not just from last week, but from last year because of the way that Shua Hubbard was playing last year. Not a name that is at the top of every list for best running back in the league, but is a guy that ended up stats-wise there, that's for sure. Again, I guess the sort of overall legacy name value, and I mean, obviously it's a credit to the guys that are, because there is a sustained success that you have to have most of the time, or I guess, maybe even going back to college, the pedigree of that stuff, obviously maybe some of that gets a little bit unfair for a couple of names. It's like, okay, how many more career yards does Bijan have than Rico Dowdle at this point? But let's see, where was he at last year rushing total wise? In Dallas, like we're, 1,000-yard rusher, only 2 touchdowns. So Pollard in Tennessee, 1,005, not really able to get in the end zone from a fantasy standpoint. That does, that is a bummer. And I guess 3 fumbles as well too. Looking at that is not, not ideal. You never want your fumbles to outnumber your touchdowns rushing wise. On the year. I guess I don't know if you had a couple more receiving touchdowns to help balance that out. Hopefully not a couple more receiving fumbles as well. But again, Shua Hubbard in the Panthers run game as well. 250 carries was up there for players in the league. Oh, I guess 12th for carries. Hey, yo, so, still kind of, I guess, RB1 in a fantasy league level production, usage wise. But, I guess yards out gaining the carries ranking wise is good as well too. But again, a 1,000-yard rusher in that Panthers offense, and I feel like a lot of that, 15 games started, had a really good stretch. 10 touchdowns as well too is a big reason why he was there for fantasy. And let's see, receiving, he had, can we locate receiving yards here, chat? Hey, yeah, we can't read this. I guess only 94 receiving yards. So yeah, I guess his, that's this year. Last year, yeah, 171. So not even really a major receiving threat as well too in terms of stats wise, still a little bit lower in that category. But I guess we clicked on this year again for his game log. Let's go back to last year and double check. Yeah, I guess a couple of crazy games in there, and a couple of big touchdown games as well too. This one's 72 yards but 2 touchdowns is obviously the fantasy numbers are gonna look good there. And I'm producing against some good matchups as well too. Ravens defense, Bengals defense, I guess Giants defense, Arizona defense, and 150 yards in each of those. Definitely some major performances. So I guess his average over those last 6 games would have been at 88. So that's pretty good to get carried by definitely those 2 highlighted ones, and a 90 plus in there as well too. But I guess if that were still to balance out over the course of the season, yeah, I guess that's still probably pretty similar to what he ended up putting up. Really just a slow start with those first 2 games at 14 and then 64 yards. Again, a little lower on the carries as well too. But I guess point being is we have to give the Panthers credit as just, a good running team at this point. This is 2 years now where they've produced rushers that are playing better as well. And Rico Dowdle, I guess these last couple of games is in the 200-yard from scrimmage camp. I guess most of that is receiving, but I guess he was 50 he led him in receiving, or most of that was rushing, but he did lead them in receiving as well too. And Tremble, the tight tight end was productive as well with 39 yards. McMillan in the red zone for sure. Only 3 receptions, but 2 touchdowns. Hey, yo, is, definitely pretty efficient. But 5 targets. So, yeah, Bryce Young, not the craziest day. But, again, in the red zone, not, converting when he needed to. And still not getting a lot of turnovers this week is, you're always going to check that as a win. And did they get any fumbles? Oh, I guess Rico Dowdle did have a fumble. So 30 carries, he was able to outdo that. And they didn't lose any fumbles today, which is good. But Bryce Young didn't have any fumbles in the pocket type of situation. And only 1 sack as well, too. So, again, that's just a pretty overall clean game. Still, we're not like Bryce Young, throw the team on his back and carry the team at this point. But we're getting into, okay, he's not costing them. The team is having an identity as a run-first, power-run team, and Bryce Young in this play-action stuff is efficient when he needs, when they call on him to make those plays. He still is pushing down the field when he needs to on some of those passes. And like we were saying before as well, on the before the technical difficulties, the weapons that they have invested in have, made a difference a little bit. McMillan, and like we said earlier, was a major red zone threat today. There were times when, Cam Ward, chat, the pump fake fumble. Oh, no. The Cam Ward start to the season has not been great. I mean, as Colts fans, there's definitely an AFC South competitiveness that is, we're not necessarily looking for the Titans to become the powerhouse team. But the Cam Ward hype was definitely there in the training camp, and maybe lesson learned. I don't know. Titans training camp, you just can't take anything seriously. I don't know, but either way, there did seem to be some real things. And I guess the preseason, the highlights, I guess the training camp highlights, when you want to talk about not taking anything seriously, it can be clipped out specifically either way, where, this is the 1 or 2 bad throws that he made, but the only throws that we're going to see from the entire day are those throws, or the other way around, where, again, he was kind of struggling up and down the entire day, but had these 2 incredible plays that showed what he's capable of, and those are the ones that are clipped out, and it's like, oh, man, we're really seeing the potential here of what his season is going to be. And hopefully that wasn't the Cam Ward experience in training camp. And maybe it does just speak to how bad the Titans are, Chet. I don't know. If Cam Ward was just cooking this Titans team in training camp, and he is, near one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. But I guess that we can't say that hasn't happened for the other quarterbacks that they have played. I don't know if, again, they haven't necessarily been, because the defensive line is still pretty good and other stuff, they haven't necessarily been, like, I don't know, Cowboys, Ravens levels. There's still been a couple teams, so maybe that says something. But, I don't know. Cam Ward, 10 for 15. Again, no picks in the half. We just go half by half at this point and go, okay, no interceptions is... I mean, Chad, again, he's a rookie, so we're not saying that because this is the checklist that means that we're totally out in his career and he's never going to be good. Again, we just thought that maybe, Cam Ward, is he going to be a sneaky, maybe not sneaky rookie of the year, but could the Titans be sneaky competitive? Are they going to be feisty week to week? And I guess, they have been to some degree. Like the Broncos game, they were kind of competitive in that. I guess the Broncos, they just play close games, Chad. It is what it is. But the checklist maybe we thought was going to look a little bit different at this point of the season. That's all. So, we jinxed it, chat. We literally jinxed it. I can't believe it. Maybe that's on Callahan for calling a play there, but he just threw a pick. Oh, no, chat. There was less than 10 seconds left in the half. Maybe there was 12? I don't know. But the Raiders get the turnover. The Titans were in field goal range. It could have gone into the half 1 score. A random, 10-3. You're still thinking the Raiders are the better team going to get this win here, both at 1-4. But, and I don't know. Are the Titans... We haven't really watched that this year at all either. They're pretty unwatchable. But is their kicking game, are they in range for their kicking game? But I don't even think he got hit. Did he get hit? Did the ball get tipped? Yeah, the ball did get tipped. So, is that on the right tackle? I don't know. Gino takes the knee going into halftime. 10-0. Oh, chat, that might be on us. That might be our bad. I'm not going to lie. We can't really blame Cam Ward for that one. Again, We're over here being like, he's played a clean half, and we can't say that until there's actually a break in the action, until there's actually the half is over. We spoke too soon. So it's our bad. Apologies to Titans fans. At 1-4 at this point in the season, again, they can have a couple of good games. They're not going to be a threat. But, hey, maybe just a good stretch of football where maybe just for the stats, you take a little bit of break. But I don't know, Chad. That's brutal. That's not good. Shout out to the Raiders defense, of course, for making plays. The defensive line has had a couple of moments outside of Max Crosby to, have those game-changing-ish moments, even though if they haven't necessarily outside of that, been able to have game plans to make up, help those moments matter. But, hey, when you play the Titans, they definitely do. And, hey, Chad, tough stuff for our guy Cam Ward. I mean, again, the career, we're still there. He's still fine. This is still a tough spot to be in. I mean, we see even with, like, Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, I guess today, of course, maybe not, the ideal day to compare him to Trevor Lawrence. But I think Trevor Lawrence himself was not too bad today. I guess, 12 points versus Seattle, and it was 20-6 there. But, and again, maybe in a Cam Ward type of way where you're like, okay, the Jaguars scored at one point in the game, and you're like, okay, they are right there. They are like one score out of it. So if anything weird happens and they are able to put together a drive, like, you never know. But I don't know if Lawrence had any like crazy. He didn't have any picks. I guess 27 for 42. Yeah, a lot of sacks. So shout out to the Seahawks defense for being active all over the place today. But no fumbles. Not able to create a turnover that way for Lawrence at least. So holding on to the football there throughout. And Darnold just chat, striking down the field the entire season has been pretty efficient on some of the the deep ball stuff. But yeah, again, with Lawrence, of course, and again, watching him today, the Jags, even with this loss, 4-2, the Seahawks are 4-2. So the Seahawks are, we still don't really know where they're at in the hierarchy of the NFC, but in a couple of weeks, so they keep winning some games. Like, we might just have to admit, of course, they are just undeniably one of the, feistier, better teams that we in the conference. But, again, Trevor Lawrence, I don't know if do we have to go both sides, chat? I don't, I don't know, pause. But, there is obviously the conversation that we were having around his career when he was entering the league, and then it goes the other way after a couple of bad seasons. It's like, well, obviously, if he can't be the greatest quarterback of all time, then that means that he can't be a productive quarterback. But he is, watching him today, you're like, okay, there is, maybe again, Sam Darnold is showing this as well too. He is, of course, elevated to where maybe he's, even more like top 10-ish, continuing to prove that he's in that level. And, the quarterback stuff is a little like the NBA player stuff where, there really can be at times just 2 or 3 guys that really matter from that quarterback spot, or, from the NBA, it's like, okay, there really is like 4 guys that are actually going to win the title at a given year as the best player. But, a guy like Sam Darnold being on the sort of the border of the next tier, where not necessarily, being on the border of the number 1 tier, but sort of borderline tier 2, if he can play really well, in the games that he's playing really well, he looks like he'd be one of those borderline tier 2 quarterbacks. And Trevor Lawrence is, I think, going to be one of those guys where, really good quarterback in the league, and in his good games, he's going to look, again, really, really awesome because of his physical traits, and, he's a guy that can play really, 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 really well. I don't know if Herbert is quite in that category, again, with the way the Chargers have injuries and that team gets depleted year to year. There do seem to be a little bit more excuses, but again, I think maybe situationally, just organizationally, maybe the Jags have been a little bit more of a tougher spot for a quarterback to be in than the Chargers, for Lawrence, more so than Herbert. But, and, again, he was definitely battling pressure today, and they didn't, I guess, have a run game as well, too. ETN 12 for 27, when it looked like he was going to be a guy in the season. Maybe you want Tank Bigsby back? Hey, Tutton was going to be a guy as well, too. And, they get shout out, Seahawks defensive front can be menacing. So, you got to give them credit more so than maybe get concerned about the Jags. And again, the Jags at 4-2, do we expect them to be a 12 13-win team this year. I think that'd be a little bit shocking. And even if they were, I don't know if we'd be buying them in the playoffs as a real team. You know, they'd be in the divisional round at some point. They'd be the team the minute they lose in the season, even if it's the Super Bowl. We're like, I told you. So they'd have to literally win the Super Bowl for us to be like, okay, maybe the Jags are good. But, you know, they with Lawrence, he is, I think, a good quarterback now. And I don't know if that's even a hot take, but because of, again, the expectations, like I'm saying, I feel like the conversation just gets very dramatic with a guy like that, where, and Darnold, of course, like we're saying, was the number 3 overall pick, but because of time, it's sort of, I guess it hasn't really leveled out for Darnold, because there is that sort of doubt where it's like, is it going to go back? And again, we've seen it, you know, go the other way as well too, like we're saying, where they've been in these tough situations and the teams have not produced well at all. But they don't necessarily get the benefit of the doubt of the middle tier. And maybe they, again, will after seasons like this. Like, yeah, Trevor Lawrence is mid. Hey, yo. But, and Brian Thomas had some good moments today as well, too. So I think this is more so a Seattle is, you know, a potential crazy team. And again, with their defense being able to have these high-level moments against the Jags offense is really impressive. And the JSN aspect as well, too. I guess, you know, we were hyping up, we were talking about Fred Warner, you know, his impact in the Niners defense, because he got hurt earlier in the little preview live stream we did. Obviously, that's what it was. It's not, you know, wasn't the application shutting down. Hopefully, chat, if we just sit still, we should be good to go for the rest of the night. We just have to not react to any of the exciting plays, so stay tuned. That's going to be fun, because we don't want to accidentally cut out the live stream. But you know, I guess we'll definitely mention something about him as well too, because we got to just make sure that, you know, you guys are aware of that. Shout out, you know, Fred Warner is one of our guys. But, and, you know, Puka Nacua, there have been some really tough, hard transition pause, but Puka Nacua has been, you know, kind of the guy that's claimed the top receiver in the league status through the first month and a half of the season. And I mean, he's definitely earned it as well too, because his production has been crazy, and he has been on his historic trajectory if he continues to put up this level of production. But, and he is still maybe, you know, because of his blocking, because of his toughness, he is a guy that, you know, again, you're just going to maybe take him over all the other receivers in the league. But, and I guess, do we have to go watch JSN blocking a little bit more? But I do think that his skill level versus their other receivers is different, and maybe it's the number 1 versus any of the receivers in the league, and versus any of the top receivers in the league as well too, because it seems like all these other guys are at least part of a core in some ways. And if you have the other receiver, that does make you a little bit more likely to go invest in the other, or I guess if you have the number 1 receiver, it seems like that makes you more likely to go right now anyways, the last couple of years, to go invest in the number 2 receiver and just have that high-powered offense. And you've got, of course, Jamar, and not to say that those other guys don't put up those number 1 receiver stats and aren't still the top receiver in the league. Again, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, arguably the 2 best receivers in the league, but they have great running mates as well too. It's a credit to their running mates, it's a credit to their offense. We're not saying anything against, again, like the top-level talent, but it's just to point out that I think that JSN is individually in, again, the MVP-ish ranking situation. Like, you know, I don't want to say it's sort of talent discrepancy, but the reliability that they have on him, where if he went out of their receiving game, I don't really know what would happen. And maybe I'm not respecting Cooper Kupp enough, or, you know, Darnold's ability to adjust, and him and AJ Barner, you know, would have a Dak Prescott, Jake Ferguson, you know, there'd be some correlations there between the two of them. I don't know. But I feel like JSN is actually, and again, maybe I'm prisoner of the moment, week 6. You know, Puka did get hurt today, so I don't know. We go look at his stats here. Maybe this is a week to say if his stats were a little bit lower, you know, JSN's had a couple of good weeks here. We can make this take and not be crazy. But again, I think it's a credit. It's still a credit to Devontae Adams. And I don't think Devontae Adams is quite, again, T. Higgins, Jordan Addison level. Yeah, I guess those 2 guys specifically. But even Waddle, but I don't know. You know, Adams is still more, you'd rather have him as your number 1. I don't know if anybody's like, oh, you know, at this point, you know, do we need to trade for Devontae Adams and bring it as the wide receiver 1 and build the offense around him? But if the Rams did have to rely on him for a game or 2, and, you know, especially with Stafford there, I think you would, you know, in McVay, you know, it's just a great system as well too. So you would expect them to kind of produce in a certain way. I mean, you would expect Stafford and McVay to at least maybe hopefully put up some stats if it was like Worthington and Tutu Atwell as well. So, Devontae Adams would definitely be maybe an upgrade over those guys. But still, I think Devontae Adams over Cooper Kupp at this point. I guess maybe I don't even think, they literally made the trade for, I guess they didn't make the trade for those two guys. But I guess they traded out those two players. The Rams had Cooper Kupp, and they said we would rather have Devontae Adams next to Puka Nacua as our number 2 receiver there. So JSN has the guy that Puka Nacua, that they don't even want next to him. And JSN is still putting up these incredible stats. So you start getting into the run game, Puka Nacua. If you can you run to his side of the field more because he's a better blocker? I don't know. But he is, JSN is really crazy. And I'm definitely, really being jealous of his production right now as well, too, because this was the guy that we were really kind of hoping to grab in the fantasy draft. We probably should have taken him in the second over a quarterback, but I thought we could have got him in the third, and shout out, the champ might win the league, and, he got him there. So, I mean, this is definitely a 2020, like, hindsight is 2020. Like, oh, yeah, Mahomes is good. Now we can say, like, oh, yeah, we liked Mahomes when he was in college. Like, JSN's the best receiver in the league. It's like, oh, yeah, we definitely would have drafted JSN in the third round. But, yeah, the value would have been there for sure as well, too. And that was, if you looked at our first 2 picks, that would have been a sensible strategy. Because we took Taylor in the first round as just our bias. We have to build this team around our favorite team's best player. So we're going to take in, great RB1 option in the first round as well, too, when you have the depth of receiver. So you get sort of a biased great pick in Jonathan Taylor. And then, Josh Allen, just lock in that number 1 quarterback in the second round. And then go back. And I was thinking, get JSN in the third round. And that's going to be a guy that people are thinking maybe still 4 weeks in. Like, is he kind of a guy that people could hope to snag as like a wide receiver 2 or some of the people at the end of, a different part of the draft? Because I guess it was early third round as well, too, that I was kind of working with. But nope, it didn't happen. Turns out actually other people were locked in watching. Turns out other people watch these games as well, too. I don't know. Do we need to check the ratings? Is the NFL doing good? Because, yeah, they did take JSN at an appropriate time in the draft. But the first round did go pretty accordingly. I guess we did do a little recap of it. But, ayo, so we're back. But recapping our fantasy draft. But, ayo, all that being said, that's just going to haunt us, chat. So I guess, point, maybe we said this on the last live stream, like we couldn't, the amount of like night terrors and nightmares we would have if we were a real GM over some of these potential, you could have taken this player. I mean, obviously, we would make the right pick every time, but it's like, hey, yo, I mean, we know just from you could check the tapes from when we've talked about drafts and stuff. So it's like, oh, we would probably take this guy at this if we were in this pick, and then looking back, it's like, oh, but that means we would have left this guy on the board. And it's like, oh, haunting stuff, chat. Hey, yo, and even just a fantasy draft 2 weeks into the year. And again, we didn't even pass on JSN. But I guess we passed him in the second round. So we did pass on JSN, but I don't think we passed on him at the right time. But again, what is the right time? Hey, yo, so every year in fantasy, you just be. The lesson is be more biased. Literally forget about draft boards. I think in the NFL, I don't want to say that is good or bad, because you do get a situation where you get Belichick drafting like Cole Strange. And it's like, okay, well, I guess in some ways you don't want every NFL team just drafting off of the Yahoo Sports mock draft. So if you're doing your own work and you're coming up with your own answers, then that is a good thing, obviously, that you're putting that much level of thought into the draft, but also maybe, I don't know if maybe the formula just was a little bit off there in some ways as well, too. But, there is a comfortability with sort of the unanimous decision of some of these mock drafts and stuff like that. But in fantasy, you do have, if you're in a redraft league, you do, of course, get the opportunity to redraft every year. So there is the dynasty leagues and the keeper leagues and all different stuff. But there is you're probably going to be in a redraft league as well, too. Hey, yo, Chad, a degenerate fantasy player is not just going to be in one dynasty league. Especially a fantasy player in a dynasty league is not just a fantasy player in a dynasty league. He's not, I just got one dynasty league team, and this is my team, and we're literally a dynasty. We win the championship every year, and I put all my effort, into this one fantasy team. Like, no, it's like this dynasty team is the one that I just have every year, and that this is just one of my dynasty teams. And then I have like a bunch of redraft leagues. You know, dynasty league, the commitment to that is obviously you have to be degenerate, so you're redrafting every year as well too. But again, you do get that makeup, so I guess you can draft every year. But I guess you could get kicked out of a league for sure. So I mean, obviously, hey yo. But you know, you can obviously find yourself. Maybe it's easier to find another fantasy league than it is easier to find an NFL job. So you can sort of mix up you can experiment with fantasy draft strategies, of course, in a little bit more aggressive way than some other times. And I guess the lesson being, literally just take the guys you want to take. Do not go by mocks. Do not go by projections. I guess the auto draft team is the team that wins every year. So you have to commit to the bit one way or the other. You have to either decide you're going to have an auto draft team, and maybe you don't set it to auto draft, but you just literally just say, okay, I'm going to commit to taking the. Maybe we do that. Maybe we have to do that, chat. Hey, yo. After talking it out, you know what? That is the best strategy. Screw it. Forget our boards. We're auto drafting next year. Let AI help us win a title, chat. We're convinced. We're just going to type into ChatGPT, copy and paste the draft board. Who should we take in the 4th round? And just see what happens. But I guess, hey, yo, shout out Seattle. NFC's best, chat. Sam Darnold is going crazy. I guess Rico Dowdle, I saw that he won. Hey, back to Rico Dowdle. Won NFC, of course, NFC Offensive Player of the Week last week. So this 2 weeks, he might have the month locked in at this point. But him and JSN are going to be battling that one out, chat. Hey, yo, who would have thought October? Hey, yeah, chat. Stuff gets spooky in October. JSN and Rico Dowdle are the 2 best players in football. I mean, this is what kind of Twilight Zone Halloween stuff is going on right now. Oh, the Packers returning a missed field goal? Did it get blocked? I don't know what happened. End of the half. They are going to get tackled, and it's not going to be a return. I guess I didn't see the distance on that. So if it was, you know, it was like a 65-plus yarder, then, you know, obviously having that return guy lined up would make sense. McPherson, though, you know, he can drive a kick for sure. He wouldn't be afraid to end of a half, you know, roll it out there and try it. But maybe outdoors, Green Bay, you know, maybe a dome is more likely. So I don't know. You ask him what happened there. Well, Coach, what were you thinking having him kick a 70-yard field goal? Here, I guess, can we see what the distance on that was? 44 yards in the last drive. I guess, where were they starting from? We'll double check here and see the distance on that field goal. End of half. Hey, yo, so that's not going to go down as a scoring drive. We've got, oh, yeah, so about 67. So, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily be afraid. I guess, can we get a weather report? IT, pull up the weather. You know, we have to be in Lambeau checking it out. But, just McPherson, 67 yards, neutral field. Yeah, I mean, that would be fine. So, again, adjust situationally. I guess, we'll maybe get a better answer if we run some numbers. But, just, again, Blake Slate, that's fine. So, shout out. But would you rather have that or Flacco trying to throw down the field? Well, I guess maybe with Chase and Higgins, though, chat. Maybe that is the number. Again, that's the numbers that IT have to run. They go back and say, well, forget, you had the 2 best receivers in the league. So, or I guess, one of the best receivers in the league, and T. Higgins as well, too. 2 of the top 20 receivers in the league. So maybe you just throw it up there and see what happens as well, too. You know what, chat? That might be a better idea. Who's their backup? Hey, yo. Maybe everybody needs a backup that can, a Hail Mary option instead of just, do we have guys that are going to be safe, check down, run the offense? If you have one and then somebody that can bomb away. Who are we looking for, chat? Cincinnati. Here we go. We're just rambling away over here. Obviously, they still have Browning on the roster. And I guess a guy that they're not going to play snap to snap over Browning. But nobody... Sean Clifford? Yeah, hey, yo, chat. What's going on in the Cincinnati QB room? Joe Flacco, Sean Clifford, Jake Browning, and Joe Burrow is a little, yikes. Hey, yo. I guess, obviously, Burrow, incredibly talented. He's worthy to be at any QB room. I mean, Flacco, I guess as a backup, he's proven that. Is Flacco, if every team has is Flacco one of the 62 best quarterbacks on the planet? Or I guess, hey, yo. Maybe he is still top 62, but is he one of the 64 best quarterbacks on the planet? I mean, definitely, if you give the extra bonus bonus spots, then I think he can be 63 or 64 for sure. I mean, again, he's obviously proven that he's over Jake Browning and Sean Clifford at this point. I guess practice squad for Sean Clifford. I don't know. Is that what that means, chat? Hey, yo. I guess shout out. But, it's still great stuff. Oh, Burton. That's right. They have Burton as well, too. Yeah, chat. Maybe they should have just thrown a Hail Mary there. I don't know. But maybe one of the running backs or receivers is a quarterback. Wasn't Charlie Jones is the, Purdue. Yeah, but Purdue via Iowa. Maybe he could throw a pass. He's one of those, can have a touchdown in like 3 different ways. So maybe a passing touchdown at the end of a half for Hail Mary wouldn't be that crazy. I don't know. I think there's a guy, Drew Sample. Was somebody in here a former quarterback? Tanner Hudson? That seems like a former quarterback. High school? Tanner Hudson, definitely a former high school quarterback. For sure. So if you don't trust any of your other quarterbacks, throw a Hail Mary. Just have Tanner Hudson, your tight end. Go out there and throw it and see what happens. But, otherwise, I guess what game were we talking about here, Chet? Hey, we have to go back in the search history and see Jags, Seahawks. So shout out to JSN for being the guy that's going to haunt our dreams this year from a fantasy standpoint. I mean, he did it at Ohio State, of course. Fortunately, I guess we remember more the Michigan teams that won than the Ohio State players that lost. Hey, yo, chat, do we need to up our pettiness level? Maybe we do. I feel like we should probably know the names of all the players that we won over that run because, make no mistake, it looks like it might be coming to an end this year. I don't know. I mean, again, at this point, you just never know. I feel like Ohio State fans are just locked in, nervous, right? I guess they're probably not. The Ohio State fans are delusional, so they're going to, of course, be crazy for that game. But I feel like that there is probably going to still be a little bit of a guard up because last year, again, the rankings discrepancy was definitely there, and then, Michigan had the upset, one of the biggest in the history of the rivalry. Pause. But, so again, you can't necessarily write it off the table, and I guess the Michigan team this year is technically better than the Michigan team last year, more talented, we'll say, and still a couple of weeks to go, could still be playing better by the time we get to that game. But yeah, it does seem like if we're going by the odds that it's not looking good. We're not necessarily locking in a celebration that weekend for a victory, but. Regardless, maybe one day we'll overdraft JSN and get him on our fantasy team. We'll see. We're gonna try to cook up a Josh Allen, but I don't know. I don't know if the roster stuff is gonna work. And again, I guess specific to our league, that team is stacked. So maybe it's just not gonna need to make a trade. But we might need to because Drake May. I guess the reason we would trade Josh Allen is because we had Drake May, and I guess maybe we talk about Drake May next as well too, because that also ended up being one of the most fun games in competitive scoring wise. Just the bad teams were in the fun. I guess it was all bad teams today to some point. So again, maybe that's why it was all fun games. All these teams were actually evenly matched up. So is that the lesson of the day? Is we don't need to worry about star players and who's actually on the field, but as long as the talent is equal, it's fine. I mean, maybe we should give the USFL another chance, chat, and see what happens. Canadian football even. And check some of that out, as long as the talent is there. But I do feel like some of those, I mean, hey, yo, chat, we'll just sit and watch ESPN for a couple hours on a weekend. It happens from time to time. So, or whatever, but they'll have the scores when those sports are on. Do they even still have the league? I feel like that's more of maybe a spring thing. So do they start that up like as the playoffs are going? And as the season starts ending, and then they can promo it, and then sort of at the beginning of the season kind of walk us into the USFL. Maybe it's canceled, chat. I don't know. Patriots fans, sorry. We'll be back. Let's see here. USFL 2025. Do we go 26? Just in case. Make sure it happens. Announces 2025 season full schedule. Wait, so this article's from January 2nd. So I think they would have started playing games at some point already. Founded. Okay, wait, there is not a defunct sign here on the Wikipedia page part of the search history. So that's good. Okay, it means that there is hopefully another season. I guess hopefully, hey, yo, chat. But for our it's not USFL anymore, UFL fans. I guess hopefully there is another season. Bryce Perkins, chat? Hey, yo. Bryce Perkins, USFL MVP. Is Bryce Perkins, does he want to be, USFL quarterback? Is somebody not going to call Bryce Perkins and Bengals? What are we doing? Are you not watching the UFL, chat? Turns out Cincinnati ownership and management group is actually not watching a lot and scouting a lot of football. They're just watching their opponents they're playing in the AFC North, and they go, oh, wait a second, the Browns' backup quarterback that they have starting right now, Joe Flacco's pretty good. Well, let's bring him in as our backup and see what happens. We know that's a trap that a lot of these teams can fall into, but I don't know. At this point in the season, somebody give him a chance. The Ravens can't give Bryce Perkins a chance. I mean, we saw our guy Tyler Huntley today. Tyler Huntley's the sign that we should probably, go be out enjoying the day, Chad. If Tyler Huntley's playing, that's like hearing closing time at the bar. That's like, it's time to go. I don't know if we should be here anymore, but shout out, obviously. Fortunately for Tyler Huntley, again, we're pro Tyler Huntley on this pod. Pro Fred Warner, pro Tyler Huntley. Our team is stacked on offense, maybe a little weak on stacked on defense, a little weak on offense at this point, but we still believe in our guy. Ooh, Gene T chat, first and goal, a touchdown. Ayo, I think we might be matched up against him. So shout out. That's not good for fantasy. For Tyler Warren, rookie of the year. Gene T starting to perform a little bit. I know the Raiders obviously going in a different direction than maybe Gene T's season, but still, if Gene T's putting up some numbers, getting some touchdowns, maybe he's a threat there as well too. I mean, obviously, Mbuka as well is threatening our Colts guy. Also, but Jason Bean, top draft pick. I guess it doesn't say where he had what kind of season he had, and there's no next season. Oh wait, here we go, 2026. Let's see what it says. In July 2025, the UFL sold a large minority stake of itself to Impact Capital, a private equity fund owned by multi-billionaire sports drink founder Mark Riepel. Oh, what do we got here? Coca. Oh, glass. Oh, sold to Coca. Oh, Body Armor. The UFL got bought out by a Body Armor, chat. That's crazy. Imagine owning a drink and you just get to buy the league. That's crazy. Could 50 Cent buy the UFL vitamin water? Maybe 50 Cent needs to start a competing league. I mean, we got Ice Cube with the basketball league, 50 Cent with the football league, chat. I don't know. I feel like there's a lane. 7-on-7? A 50 Cent 7-on-7 football league? I don't know. We probably can't call it 70 Cent. Would probably be early erased off of the workshop, the brainstorming session whiteboard, the dry erase board. It would probably be erased pretty early. But chat, maybe there's something there. I don't know. I feel like if we were gonna get investors, would that just be a name that would be like, okay, well, we have to see if we can get 50 Cent in the mix. But I guess for a schedule here, relocating teams, returning unchanged. New teams, rebranded teams, not returning from 2025. Okay, so it seems like this is a little bit of a tumultuous time, chat, for our fellow UFL, football competitors. Unionization and compensation. Oh, chat. I mean, hopefully everybody, if the league keeps going, hopefully everybody's compensated and protected and all that stuff. But, you just don't know what leagues are able to withstand in terms of, not necessarily what they're able to dole out, but just in terms of, not playing games and stuff like that. When you're on the UFL level at this point, it's, is that just the secret to these leagues, chat? Is that why they keep popping up? Are we breaking the business code right here? Should we be saying this? They're like, okay, we can't actually compete with the NFL, so we can just restart leagues every couple of years until they want to unionize, and then we just start a new one. So I don't know. Maybe ESPN is like, maybe we're gonna get more technical difficulties here, chat. It's like all of a sudden this live stream gets taken down again. But I don't know. Maybe there's something to do that. So we'll see. There's no schedule tab here. Season structure. Oh, wait a second. Regular season. Where are we at here? UFL will continue to follow its model of a 10-week regular season. How the scheduling will play out without conferences division has yet to be determined, as the scheduling formula used by all 8-team spring leagues of the 21st century have relied on 2 4-team divisions to ensure an even schedule. Blah, 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 blah. In late 2025, they indicated the season would likely run from the weekend of March 1st through the weekend through the end of June. So maybe they're promoting it during basketball, is what I'm thinking about. Obviously, if not promoting it during NFL games, if it is in March. Hey, Danny Garcia. Oh, shout out. is the chairperson. We've got Russ Brandon as a UFL guy, best known for his 21-year front office tenure. So I guess he's just a executive type guy. Oh, Daryl Johnson is executive vice president of football operations. He's still calling games. Hey, yo. Who is Fox got calling these games? They got the executive vice president of football operations of the UFL. They've got the minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Hey, yo. This is crazy, Chad. Then they've got director of business, the body armor guy, Doug Whaley, another football executive, Russ Gigolo? Is that his name, Chad? Russ Gilio? I don't know if I'm going to say his name right. Russ Gigolo. Hey, yo, senior director of player administration, officiating operations. No page exists. This guy might be a character, Chad. Who would have guessed this league might actually be a front for something? I don't know. Jim Pop, director of player administrations as well. So I guess, a lot of football people, of course, involved. I guess this is not necessarily investors, but it says league finances. So I guess I would have assumed that there's really like more money people involved, but I guess not. So maybe they get more executive actually operating people and stuff like that. But hey, yo. So shout out maybe Bryce Perkins, not to the Saints though, Chat Rattler though, playing well. And Drake May definitely slowed down, and the Patriots offense just in general slowed down in the first half. I mean, I guess fortunately for them, so did the second half, so did the Saints as well. But in the first half, Drake May was the best quarterback playing in the entire early window at that point. And again, we did have, no Lamar in the game for the Ravens with his injury. So there is, some obvious, reasons why his name is sort of filtered up to the front of that list as well, too. But you do have, of course, on the other side of that, you do have Stafford. You do still have Dak Prescott, who is, again, maybe not the best quarterback in the league at a given time, but is still in the mix. And if you're passing Dak Prescott on the QB ratings, I guess you're definitely trending in the right direction. Hopefully if Dak Prescott's passing you, that's probably a different thing. He's probably going, the other way. But, again, if you're climbing up and it's like, oh, wait a second, there goes Dak Prescott, you're getting close to the top at that point. Again, we respect Dak's game on this pod to some degree. Again, I don't know if the trust and respect are starting to go in different directions, but again, there is still a respect level there at this point for his ability to at least produce and, again, his sort of status in the league. But Drake May was dotting guys up, and his ability to stay calm in the pressure at this point, and he does just kind of have an old school moving around in the pocket element to his game. He does, of course, have the mobility to be able to pick up the yards with scrambling when he needs to, and to create extra yards in the ground. But even the way the guys run around now, there is a, hey, yo, Chad, now, we don't want to start getting into the, too crazy of stuff. And, there are obviously a lot of guys in the league that do lock in and, play good, I guess, so, traditional, whatever kind of football. But, even just like where it seems like at times, and maybe this is an adjustment that he's made as well, too, because I guess, as he is continuing to play better, we're watching more and more of him. So I think maybe some of those early games when he was turning it over more would have, we'd have to go back and see kind of how he was scrambling around in those games. Because I guess, I remember watching some of the college highlights as well, too. Again, he is kind of he was a little bit of and, a lot of the guys as well, too, they're so athletic, and their ability to make plays that, and I guess, when I guess we were saying like the two hands sort of shuffling around, scrambling. I guess, if you're an athlete type of guy, you can turn and run if you have the lane and still pick up positive yard. It's just not like you can't still make a play out of that type of stuff. But there is, of course, when you're focusing more down the field and when you're, again, looking to make a pass sort of still in the pocket, maybe your ability is still a little bit different. But when the spin out of the pocket now, and guys trying to create on the edge of stuff when the play is broken down is definitely the go-to method for, again, once the pocket is collapsed, for how guys try to create. And it does still seem like Drake May, maybe it doesn't necessarily, again, mean that he's going to be good at quarterback as well, too. It's just he is good, and this is stylistically how he plays, and it's kind of fun to watch, but he does have, he is still like kind of moving up in the pocket and still navigating the pocket a little bit. And again, he is making his reads, and his down the field accuracy, he just continues as his confidence grows. He is, again, just continue to make more and more impressive passes. And he was already making crazy with that defender. And again, I guess speaking of creating on the edges, pause. That was that throw that he made in the Bills game where he had the defender draped all over him and, was able to hit the guy down the field. But he had a play down the field to Diggs as well, too, in this one. And I believe that was one of the better plays they had in the second half, where it was just a beautiful down the field throw. And Diggs is so good as well, too, at like that lunge at the end of sort of a deeper pass, where if he's like falling out of bounds, or if he's just, again, trying to get the separation from the defender, he can get that step away and kind of, just like we said, that lunge away from the defender. And he is able to create the space. Drake May drops it in, and it's great stuff. Pause. But yeah, again, like his level of play in that first half was pretty incredible stuff. And again, like Dak from a stats day, he was having a little. There was some plays that were left on the table by the Cowboys skills guys. That's for sure. I think there was like a drop touchdown on a third. I want to say it was a third, but it might have been a 4th and goal. Honestly, I think it was a 4th and goal because it was at the end of the half. Yeah, and it was. I think was it clock ran out, or the Panthers got it and took a knee or whatever, and were able to still go into halftime maintaining the score. Hey yo, chat, I don't even know what we're looking for at this point. Play by play. Let's see what happened. Is there a turnover? Yeah, end of half. What was this? Okay, wait. Prescott took a knee. Maybe that was at the end of the quarter. What happened here, chat? Let's see. Or maybe they just kicked a field goal. So maybe it was a third down that they had that play. So I don't know if we need to go back and look at all of their goal to go situations, but there was a couple of times like that where, again, you wouldn't necessarily say it was on Prescott, though maybe he could have ran there as well too, because it was a shorter, it was like they were on like 2-yard line. So, but 25 for 34, again, 261, the Panthers were able to get the ball last and drive down and get the game-winning kick as well too. So there was, of course, that just Cowboys defense element to it that Dak is going to have in to be able to rely on for his narratives as well too, which is maybe, I don't know if the Cowboys defense is the best or the worst team for this team, because again, they're 2-3-1, but it means their offense just is going to be in these crazy games. All these games are fun, and for Dak, again, it is this thing that he can just, the defense gave up a field goal there. If we had gone to overtime, maybe we still win it. Who knows? But, and as long as he's playing efficient, like, I guess you can't necessarily say he's so costly for him. And Pickens was awesome today. Of course, had the highlight of the year I say that casually, but up there for funnest highlight of the year anyways. I don't know, you start going meaningful moments, again, like some of Herbert's throws, that Drake May throw as well too is going to be up there. But just in terms of, again, fun moments, the hurdle, I guess it did go for a touchdown. I don't remember if he actually, I think it did go for a touchdown, but the hurdle over the defender right after the catch was pretty crazy stuff. And I think it was a pretty crazy catch over the middle of the field as well too, and just be able to collect and hurdle the way he did was obviously pretty crazy. But yeah, Drake May is continuing to ascend. Scary stuff to watch, and just with his ability to, like we're saying, play as well as he is, this team might just be a playoff team at this point. And we have to admit it, because they, competitively, obviously the run game is still a little bit behind from where we'd want it. I don't know if their defense is, top of the league. It's still pretty good. And I think, again, like I showed, Buffalo can make some plays if they need to. As long as Gonzalez and some of the main guys are healthy. It looks like Barmore is out there as well too. So, again, as long as everybody's healthy and out there, that is going to be at least a competitive unit to go up against. And it is a credit to the Saints. Again, 1-5. They're competitive in all these games. But Saints fans, like, do you want to be winning these games? I mean, yes, of course, you want to be winning football games at the end of the day. But do you want to be 3-3 with Spencer Rattler as your quarterback? Maybe, because if he's playing kind of feisty, but 1-5, but that can also be an answer as well too. Like, he might just be again, a really feisty sort of quarterback in that type of way. And maybe there's not going to necessarily always be wins attached to the stats. But if you need to ensure that you're going to get the number 1 overall pick and you need to be fun, you can bring in Spencer Rattler. He might be one of the best versions of that. Winston hasn't really gotten the chance to be the stats guy and be the number 1 pick quarterback. I mean, he has definitely bounced around, but he's been in some situations where he's been the backup and been in rooms with a guy like Jackson Dart, where it's like, okay, you're not going to go Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston and then to Jackson Dart. Like, you're going to give him the chance, and then Jameis is going to be the guy there for when Russell Wilson demands a trade, and then you can have Jameis as your backup if you need him and be the guy in the locker room as well too, to help Jackson Dart along. And I mean, you see the impact as well too with the craziness of, I guess, Jackson Dart and Scadaboo obviously have their own energy and their own, there's like their own fun style to their game, but there is a chaoticness as well too. That's like, is this a Winston thing of him sort of mentoring these younger guys as well too? Because when he is making the speeches, and maybe his vibe just fits into it's just like, okay, it's just a collection of talent that gets along and is fun. But that stuff, that stuff that I guess you can read about as well. I mean, it's not to say that we don't know going into the season that teams are, trending good vibes, bad vibes, whatever. But just, again, how a fun locker room can translate into maybe actually being a successful team. And, again, shout out to Russ. Hey, yo. But if the quarterback room is more Jackson Dart and Jameis Winston led, then maybe that collection of guys, again, they get along. They like playing football together. You can see the energy and the good times is high. So, maybe it does actually result into a couple of random wins. You're like, hey, we're getting the win over the Eagles on Thursday night. Scadaboo and Jackson Dart, like, holy cow. But, Rattler. Hey, yo, I guess he hasn't quite gotten into Jackson Dart, get an upset win type territory. But he's getting close, chat. 20 for 26, 227 yards. Like, that's a pretty good stat line. And, no Scadaboo-like running production as well, too, to help him along. Kamara, 10 for 31. Kendre Miller, 8 for 21. Rattler himself, 4 for 20. He's, best rusher for him. Maybe not most yards. The Taysom, Kellen Moore, for as good as he is, Chad, hey, yo, he hasn't been able to get Taysom Hill involved the same way that, you hope from a typical Saints offense. We need him from a fantasy standpoint. In the middle of the season, he can be a clutch tight end to have as an option on your bench. Maybe the Broncos, Chad. Sean Payton, Taysom Hill. The reunion. That's what needs to happen. That's the secret, Chat. They need to trade for Taysom Hill. Wait a second. Anthony Richardson suffers orbital bone fracture? It says Richardson and Colts. I'm trying to think, is there another Richardson that I'm not thinking about? Did Anthony Richardson play today? What happened, Chat? Hey, yo, that game was competitive, so it's not like we had him in, subbed in fourth quarter situation like we had before. But was there a special play that we ran with him there? Hey, yo, Chad, I can't believe we're missing all these Anthony Richardson moments on the red zone. What's going on? Did we maybe this play wasn't in the red zone? Okay, he's not listed here rushing. Is this something from the practice from the offseason? Hey, yo, Chad. Who's the Richardson that I'm forgetting about on the Colts? It has to be another guy. What happened? Was there like an incomplete pass that sailed out of bounds and hit him in the face or something? Jacoby Brissett ran into him on the sideline. Here, what happened? Anthony Richardson. Shout out to our guy. We're the only, I don't know. Hey, yo. I don't know if we're the only person out there, looking up Anthony Richardson's status. But, we still think that there is taken to the hospital with orbital fracture after eye injury and pregame warm-ups. Oh, man, Chat. This is just getting worse and worse. Last time he subbed into the game, he literally threw a pass that got batted up in the air, and he caught it. It's the only completion on the season is to himself, I think, at this point. And somehow in warm-ups, he got an orbital fracture. Hey, yo, Chad. I mean, we still think he got an Embiid-like storyline for his career, but I think Embiid got the orbital fracture after the MVP. Not before. So I guess in Richardson's timeline, it's going to be before. Should we ask ChatGPT, could Anthony Richardson be an MVP? And see what it says. Hey, yo, Chat. Hey, let's actually go. News images. Hey, we just got to remember the good times. Wait a second. what happened to Anthony Richardson run? Oh, that's right. Daniel Jones. They had to bring him in. So, hey, yo. I guess, hopefully he's okay. It is what it is. But I don't know if it means much for the Colts. Competitiveness. It is what it is. Anthony Richardson breaking his face while stretching. Hey, yo. Whoa, what happened? Do we have a video, chat? Let me go to the phone here real quick. Obviously, it's going to be easier to browse. Hey, yo. And see what we can find. But is there anything on the dark web, aka X, that might there might be a video or something of this injury? I could tell my kids how I watched Anthony Richardson's eye injury in person. Okay, it's just a picture. I'm convinced Anthony Richardson. Okay, yo. Maybe we get on X and not read everything that's on there. But I can't believe the Colts coaches did this. Anthony Richardson left the game with a hip injury at the 5:30 mark. Oh, that's from 2024. Hey, yo. Acho. Going way back. Okay, we got Rappaport. Anthony Richardson suffered eye injury doing band work? Oh, chat, there's no way. There's no way he snapped himself in the face with the band in warm-up. Is that what happened? What do we got in the replies? Does anybody have... hey, yo. Does anybody have any other... chat, this is crazy. This place is wild. I mean, obviously it's not like we've never been on X before, but, I mean, holy cow. This is nuts. Literally, with some of these pictures. Let's see what else is out here for information. Okay, there's a highlight of the concussion he suffered against the Texans back in his rookie season. Hey, yo. Schefter confirming the injury. I guess we've got no video evidence. It's been deleted. There's no Zapruder film of the Anthony Richardson injury, but that is probably even a worse sign for what happened, because that means, again, he probably definitely was doing some kind of stretch, had the band, maybe just like some warm-up curls, band kind of under the foot, nothing too crazy, but then somebody's like, hey, Anthony Richardson, good luck out there today. I know they got some plays for you, and he's like, oh, thanks, man. And then he looks over and just, like, band slips out from under the foot, smacks him right in the face. Hey, yo. I'm sure, I'm sure we're not too far off. Oh, chat, speaking of Tanner Hudson. Hey, yo, Tanner Hudson just scores. Cincinnati now down 3. Flacco, chat, Joe Cool. Hey, yo, Cincinnati. Maybe we said they traded him for him because he's an NFC North quarterback, but maybe it's just because they're like, we just got to have quarterbacks named Joe, Flacco, Burrow. Who else is even an option at this point in the NFL? I guess, does Anthony Richardson need to change his name to Joe and get traded to the Bengals? Maybe not if Flacco actually wins this game, but I guess speaking of, chat, hey, yo, Colts able to get a win. 5-1, at least the record, with the Jags losing as well, too, to the Seahawks. At least there's some separation there in the AFC South, though still, at 4-2, like, it's not like, we're going to need a couple of weeks to put some distance to actually get comfortable in that type of way. And the Jags might just be an AFC South play. It might just be 2 AFC South playoff teams this year with decent records. But this game made me nervous. Even at home, the Cardinals with Murray, it's still like, that's kind of, we don't have a tough schedule. So again, are we going to be like 15-1 this year? Like, I don't know about that. With our the Rams, Stafford, like Adonai Mitchell, the one loss is like, we should have won it with the guy with the fumble, whatever. But there's going to be some random losses. There's going to be some weird performances. We're probably going to punt a couple of times in some of these games. So this was one of those. Do they step up to the challenge and kind of play us close? And they definitely did. But even when it was like, okay, Jacoby Brissett's the backup. I didn't even know Jacoby Brissett was their backup. They might have signed him just knowing that it was Jacoby Brissett revenge game, which maybe we just call this week like revenge game week, because we got Rico Dowdle versus the Cowboys. Jacoby Brissett versus the Colts. I don't know who else is on the list of revenge team type stuff here. I guess no... no Sam Darnold revenge as well. Hail Mary game revenge for the Bears, potentially. Nothing in Miami. Chargers, I don't think. Flacco, more revenge. I don't even know if it's revenge at this point, but it's just, I guess AO, but whatever you call it, something else. But he is just, I guess going after the Packers now. So we'll see there. Mac Jones, if he has anything personal against Tampa, we'll see. Baker against Sam Fran, maybe? I don't know. And then Raiders, Titans. We'd have to double check. I don't know if there's any revenge storylines there. But at least those two, Rico Dowdle and Jacoby Brissett, were out for revenge this week. So maybe we just need week to week like a revenge tracker to see who is up for that title for the week. But, they needed him as well, too. The run game, DeMercado went out, so that was a tough one. Gannon now knows DeMercado's importance even after the fumble the other week, and he's over there kind of, taking, not necessarily helping out his guy and not, encouraging his guy in any type of way. And, maybe there's different types of way to coach around as well, too. But also, and, it's football as well, too. We're not going to, I guess there's, is it 2025, everybody's soft now, whatever. But it's also like, okay, I don't know if you need to be hitting guys on the sideline after they're, making plays. It's like, I'm sure, there's other ways to express your frustration or, hey, do we get the therapist in here now, chat? There's Gannon, there's other ways to express your frustration. Hey, you've got to, or maybe you just go with the more positive coaching approach in that moment instead of the other way. Like, what would Kevin O'Connell do? Hey, yo, Chad, is that the new what would this coach do situation guy? I don't know. But without DeMercado in this game in a major way, they just didn't have any sort of run offense, really relied on Brissett, was able to produce as well, too. And they were constantly driving up and down the field, which, I'm going to walk away from this game going, okay, that we're going to just chalk that one up to, again, Jacoby Brissett. You don't know what you're going for from the game plan standpoint. It's just weird, and we see these backups have these weird performances all the time. So, again, we're just going to go with the sort of random good game from Jacoby Brissett. With respect to Jacoby Brissett, again, knowing that he's capable of these random good games. But, the Cardinals kind of going up and down the field on the Colts was a little concerning. But the Colts did have a little of that bend, don't break in this game. And to be honest, if they had lost this game, I would have just workshopped it around the fact that, I think Jacoby Brissett had this kind of situation when he was on the Colts and subbed in for, I think Andrew Luck was hurt. I'm just trying to remember when Andrew Luck retired versus just him being injured those last couple of years. But here, because I never think about the overlap with him and Mahomes because, he also had the iconic playoff game against the Chiefs where they made that dramatic comeback against Alex Smith as well, too. So that is, for the Andrew Luck stuff, one of the, probably the first game that you think about as well, too. But, for Luck versus the Chiefs as well, it would be the first thing you think about. But I think they played an 18 in the playoffs. Am I wrong? Yeah, they lost in the divisional 31-13. So, I mean, I'm sure Sam remembers the fact that, they stomped on the Colts on the way to the Super Bowl that year. Or was this the year that they lost? 18? Was this Bengals? Or was this... this was Patriots. Okay, so this would have been the first year of that run. And maybe this is fortunately why he doesn't bring it up all the time, because D4 jumped off sides. Otherwise, we would be in for, a lot of bad memories. But Andrew Luck was, a little not great stats in that game as well, too. Again, the injuries and stuff were starting to mount up. So that's an interesting one, I guess, to go back and look at as well, too, because there is that sort of what-ifness of his career, and it is, there is undoubtedly, of course, numbers and accomplishments that he was going to get for the next couple of years. And, unfortunately, maybe not on Indy. Maybe if he wants to stay in the NFL, maybe he goes somewhere else. Maybe we see Indy being good. It maybe transforms in a different way. You quit Nelson at a different time. Who knows? But the way that he had that physical toll over the course of his career, maybe those next couple of years are, again, just him sort of stat padding. I don't want to say that. Again, I'm not counting out our guy Andrew Luck, but he's obviously one of the highest IQ quarterbacks that we've ever had. So maybe he did actually make the right move, because even Burrow, the first couple of games were not great, and the Bengals do have that September thing that is always a factor in their performances. And obviously now it's not September; it's just the fact that they don't have Burrow. But we don't necessarily think, okay, when Burrow is back, he's still not one. We still don't think he's out of the top tier of quarterbacks in the league. And again, not to say that Andrew Luck would have been one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, but maybe he would have been a little bit more on the outside of the top 10 and a little bit more in the middle of the league. And then just, if he's playing 12 games a year and not necessarily a lock to carry a team to constant success, then, it's like, okay, what kind of career am I playing at this point? And, obviously there's money as well too, that he's leaving on the table with some contracts. But yeah, maybe he just made the right move there. Anyways, but it's just like watching Mahomes run around in that game. If he's like, okay, if this is where the league is going and I'm cooked at this point, just after taking 100 sacks every year, pause. Like, whoa, wait, yo, what do we talk about? We're talking about Andrew Luck. Then maybe he saw it as a good moment to leave the league. But I guess we were talking about that because of, that year Jacoby Brissett, I think, subbed in and got a win in Sunday Night Football over the Chiefs, if I'm not mistaken. So make no mistake, or maybe it was the next year. Oh, Chad, it might have been the next year. Hey, yo, we'll have to see. And I mean, unfortunately, they won the game, so I didn't have to cue this take up. But so I guess the next year they did win the Super Bowl. I guess we were looking for the Andrew Luck overlap there. So he didn't replace Andrew Luck in terms of, that's right, because Andrew Luck retired. Hey, yo, Chat. It is what it is. So he replaced Andrew Luck retirement, not the injury. I guess, giving our guy the benefit of the doubt there. But, was week 4 or week 5, Sunday Night Football, they got that win. And then the Chiefs, the year after, losing to Kansas City, would go on to win the Super Bowl against the 49ers. So I was like, if Jacoby Brissett replacing not a retired Kyler Murray, but, an injured Kyler Murray. Hey, yo, Kyler, if we did like surprise QB retirement rankings, I think Kyler would be sneaky number 1. I don't know, Chad. I mean, Rodgers retiring, we'll get to, I guess they played the Browns today, so, they kind of had to win that one. But, I guess him retiring, obviously at 40 plus, there's no shocking retirement really possible at this point when you're retiring age. But, Murray could be a sneaky Andrew Luck level. I don't know, if a guy decided I kind of gonna walk away a little bit early, he might be an interesting candidate for that one. Or just Cam Scadaboo after like 6 games. It's like, you know what? I got to hang up the cleats. Unfortunately, I want to live a good life. So I've given it my all, but I unfortunately, smoked it to the filter in 6 games, Chad. It is what it is. But we got, I guess, again, I was prepared for a potential Jacoby Brissett goes in and just has a really crazy performance, and not crazy, best quarterback in the league, but obviously, goes in and just has a feisty win the game type of game. But they were able to, of course, close it out. Daniel Jones had an interception. Again, there were some punts, some 3rd and longs. But at the end of the day, a win's a win. We're not going to be perfect. We're not the best team of the last 25 years. So I've got both adjust. I've got the one side that's like, it's like just like completely suppressing all emotions, and it's just like, okay, this team is gonna lose in the wild card. It probably is not even gonna make the playoffs at this point. Somehow they're gonna lose the next 7 games. And then the other side's looking at it like, if we are the 1 seed, and if we do just kind of win some of these games, then maybe this is who we are. I don't know what the expectations are, but the counterbalance is going back and forth right now. But this is weirdly a game that we needed to be in as well too, because that Raiders game was a dominant game, and you need to have those games. Yes, we're going to spin this positively, however. But, we showed that we could go out there and have a decisive win against a team that is clearly in a tier below. But against in a game where it's going to be competitive and it's going to be close, and even if you should still win it, you are able to, at the end of the day, get that win. So, again, still managing to win every game that they are supposed to, and a couple of, again, awesome performances with that Dolphins, Titans, Raiders game, basically putting up 33 plus in all of those. So it's not like the Tampa Bay right now, or, even Denver, where both of those teams are pretty, good records. I guess is Tampa still winning at this point? It was 10-7. Tampa 20-13. Okay, so that unfortunately because we're in the Midwest, we do have the Packers-Bengals game on. I guess we probably said that a couple of times at this point, referencing it. But the Red Zone, of course, will keep us informed on Tampa, San Francisco. But with Mac Jones in, it's like, okay, this is still we're still talking about this as like a primetime type game. Still competitive. And I guess San Francisco just scored. Hey, yo, wait, are we in the 3rd quarter here? We got to update this, chat. We've been rambling about this Colts game for too long at this point. Pause. But we got halfway through the 3rd quarter on Tampa versus San Francisco. So, yeah, 20-19. Not 13-20, I guess. Hey, yo. Whichever, we might have read the score backwards there. But, read it opposite 2 different ways. But, still more competitive than we even looked at it last time. And Mac Jones, chat, I mean, there's takeaways that we can have here as well too. But let's take a quick break. Oh, chat, Josh Jacobs in the end zone. Packers putting a little distance now between them and the Bengals. Oh, no, wait, that's the red zone catch. Just back up. Hey, yo, chat. I think is that the first time we've officially gotten confused between the live feed and the red zone in tonight's game? It might be. So that makes it 6. I was going to say it was going to be 16-7 plus the touchdown that they just had. But no, that's the touchdown to make it 16-7. So there we go. Okay, shout out. We'll see how the fourth quarter plays out for this. We've got third plus fourth for Tampa, San Francisco, as long as the red zone don't cut out on us. Hopefully we get we actually won overtime for this Bengals game, so it can keep the red zone alive for San Francisco, Tampa. But we'll be right back. Check. Quick break. Don't go anywhere. NFL Week 6, hopefully technical difficulties free, continues right after this. right, chat, we're back. Bengals driving. I know we still got the 49ers Tampa Bay game queued up in the background. Scorecard up in the background here. But the Bengals are driving down. Joe Shiesty, Feisty. I don't know what the nickname is here, chat. Feisty Flacco? Shiesty Flacco? Joe. I mean, there was probably a nickname back in the day. I guess, does Pro Football Reference have the nicknames here, chat? Hey, yo. Did we fact check our guy Joe, or I almost called him Joe Burrow, but our guy Joe Flacco's nicknames, and see what we have on the doc here as already previously, accounted for our guy. Oh, Vincent? Oh, wait, that's his middle name. No nicknames, chat, for Joe Flacco. Joseph Vincent Flacco. Feels like there is definitely some nicknames floating out there. I don't know if we hit the Reddit boards at this point as well, too. Oh, is that Mbuko with the touchdown? Oh, Johnson. First career receiving touchdown. Shout out. T. Johnson? T, the initial, not the first name. But, yeah, shout out. Is that Tez from North Carolina? It might be. He was a sneaky middle-of-the-round draft talent type guy. Maybe more like a 5th, 6th. I guess I don't know where he ended up going. But there was, I think maybe some elite speed down the field element stuff with him. Ooh, a good reaching over-the-head catch that he's able to haul in there and stumble into the end zone again. Baker Mayfield continues to impress, and this is a win or I guess a game, we should say at this point, with it still not being over. We already know from calling. Is that in the lost tapes, chat? Hey, yo, if that's in the lost tapes, that's fortunate for Cam Ward, but, tough for us, because we were talking in that Cam Ward first half that at least he was able to, it was like 10 seconds left in the half, and we said at least he's able to play a clean half, and then he literally threw a pick. So our apologies to the Titans fans for jinxing Cam Ward on that play. But the 49ers are actually, I don't know, forget what that had to do with, because we don't want to jinx them for the rest of the game. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at this point, with that score, looking pretty, starting like they might pull away here. At this point, I guess we got to give San Francisco a chance to respond. They've been responding all day. So this game is obviously definitely not over. We're still in the third quarter. But I guess still, point being, we should say a game, if Tampa wins, is a prove-yourself type game because of Mac Jones and the way that and Shanahan as well too, but Mac Jones is able to keep this 49ers team going. And the Fred Warner injury does hurt, and this will be our, a good chance to redo our, hey, yo, shout out Fred Warner moment as well too, because the injury, we didn't see it. We looked away for the replay, chat. Hey, yo, I don't want to see the, guys' last moments for the season be painful ones. Hey, yo, we got to just remember the highlights from one of our, the Rem and Sam star athletes that we root for on this pod. Like we were saying, when the injury happened, maybe the number one non-Colt, non-Colt, non-Chief, just sort of the non-Rem and Sam universe player that we root for in the NFL. Like, there really is. I think it probably is him, because if he's the first one that I think of, then it definitely is him. I don't know if, 49ers wise, if Sam appreciates Trent Williams' game the same way that I do, but also, I'm Kittle or some other, Shavarius Ward back in the day. Sam probably got Hufanga stock still, I guess, on the Broncos now. But, Flacco, third down, rifles it off the hands. Is that Isovas? How do you say the receiver's name there? Number 80? Hey, yo, that did seem catchable. Flacco, that might be his crispest pass of the year at this point. Ooh, chat, on the money. Right on the top of his head. Pause. And should have got that. They are in field goal range, so they do need 10 here. And, I guess Cincinnati's defense getting a stop is not something you can rely on. So you definitely need a touchdown, but I guess you need to still get a stop at some point with them being down by 2 scores in general. At least hold them to a field goal at this point. So, it is a hold them to kind of a no-score situation, which is even tougher, and McPherson is able to get it to go. I got to recalibrate. I'm almost subconsciously trying to not say, Browns players here. Myles Garrett, the Browns defense can get a stop. It's actually, no, the Bengals defense cannot get a stop. It's totally different. But maybe Hendrickson, they've held him to 17 points, at least up until this point in the fourth quarter. So, that's something. But, yeah, with Mac Jones, this is going to be a respectable win if they're able to manage. And the fact that they're at least controlling this game as well, too. And, again, the 49ers chasing them is something. But the fact that the Tampa Bay is managing to stay out in front of this game is at least a new look for them as well, too. So, again, going into the fourth quarter, I guess if the 49ers take the lead at some point in the fourth quarter, Baker Mayfield still has game-winning drive potential for the stat line. Like, game-winning drive is still not off the table, I guess, for Tampa Bay outcomes. But right now, it seems like, I guess, technically fourth quarter comeback would be off of the table. And again, they have gone into a lot of these games where they've just managed to either give up a lead or fall behind or just not necessarily, create the type of separation that they've needed to. But against a good team to show that they're still, obviously to continue to prove that they are, one of the top tier teams. And they would move to 5-1 as well, too. So Seattle 4-2, there is a little bit of, a winning separation between them in the NFC. Because I do think Seattle over San Francisco at this point, though, Mac Jones, he still might be a playoff quarterback. And, we can't count out Stafford in the NFC West as well, too. So maybe NFC West, best division of football. Maybe with Jacoby Brissett now a quarterback for the Cardinals. The NFC West is officially the best division of football. Stafford, Mac Jones, Jacoby Brissett, and Sam Darnold. Maybe not, Chad. Maybe we've got to look to another one. I don't know. Name value versus 2025 performances. We'll have to see how it all lines up. Chat, we don't want to jinx Cam Ward now. I guess 4 minutes left in the fourth, and they're driving to make it a 10-point game. So it really is for the fantasy stats and for the vibes, for the gameplay and film tape stuff afterwards. But, it's still important. If he gets an interception here, that's not good. And they're in the red zone again. They were at least in field goal range in that last one. Just giving up the points in general is tough. The defense has held the Raiders to at least 10 points a half. So, again, we're not saying that they're the best defense in the league, but at least it's something. But on the other hand, Geno is at least comfortably winning a game for once versus where he's been at over the last couple of weeks. That turnaround is nice, but there we go. We've got the tight end down the field, not Kittle. Wait, the receiver, the tight end. Who do we got here, Chad? Some guy, some weapon for the 49ers that we don't even know about at this point is picking up 15 yards. Mac Jones to somebody is what we've got. Shanahan is the Shanahan offense at this point. Shout out. And, of course, McCaffrey carrying as well. But, wait, I got to peek at Mbuka real quick for fantasy purposes, chat. Oh, wait, Johnson's leading in yardage. Okay. So Mbuka, I think, could still have a touchdown, but clearly he is not putting up the same yards as, JSN as well, too. Or Kate Otten or Cameron Johnson. Hey, he doesn't have a touchdown. He's 2 for 24. Chat. We may be in trouble this week. We may be cooked. I don't know if that's it's still not concerning for a season standpoint because Johnson, I think it's still pretty fair to assume that Mbuka's going to be a lead guy for them for the year. But, obviously not necessarily a game that you want to have on the resume as a fantasy owner. And hopefully, with the rest of the way IT, take two. With the way the rest of my team is playing, we've definitely needed a good performance from one of our star players to help elevate because the role guys are not making up for it. That's for sure. So we may just have to chalk this week up as an L and not check it again until like Thursday and see what happens. Then this is why we're bad at fantasy, chat. This is what happens. But either way, to mention another late window game or early window game here real quick. We've got also we should give the Steelers some respect. And again, it's hard. Pause. It's not the toughest opponent against the Cleveland Browns. So it is difficult to, for them to be 3 points. I guess against the Browns defense is still pretty good. But 23-9. You're like, okay, do we take the Steelers seriously after a win against Cleveland? But, at least they are going to get Tomlin's win thing continued going. Again, there are good vibes for Steelers fans for like the first time in a half decade. And, again, the Rodgers narrative, at least it's not a sour thing going on that side of the field. Last year in New York, I do think that maybe that does, obviously speak to the New York toxicity of things for sure. I mean, Rodgers has obviously, not necessarily been shying away from his own side of things as well, too, in the media standpoint since wherever he's been. But the New York element as well, too, I'm sure definitely increased things. So there we go. We got the Titans scoring a touchdown. David Martin Robinson. Hey, yo, chap. We have at least cut it to 10 at this point. Or not we. I shouldn't say we. Hey, yo. The Cam Ward stockholders have at least cut it to 10 at this point. But I don't know what the line was for the game, so I don't know if they covered. Probably not. But, again, Rodgers has been efficient. Their offense at least knows what it is, even though it's not necessarily, going to have the most down the field, long type, pause plays where, again, you get DK Metcalf and some of these guys creating yards after the catch. It does have that possibility. But it's sort of going to be quick, schemed up, short throws. And then if they do, again, get big plays, it's going to be from the ability of the playmakers. But DK is one of those guys that can have a big play or two over the course of the game. And, I mean, again, Pickens proved that he could do it today as well, too. He's not just necessarily a one-dimensional receiver more so than we thought. Or, he's not necessarily just a one-dimensional receiver. But DK as well, too, is a guy that can step up and create yards when you need him as, like, a legit number one. And, they still need a major contribution from the run game, I guess, if they were going to level up and be, I think, a real contender in the AFC, because if Rodgers is going to just be relying on some, with the run the football so far, they don't really have a counter as well, but round games worse off than Flacco necessarily, but again, it is a commitment to something else anyways, a veteran from a younger guy. So I don't know if you start to get the defense playing with a different type of mentality. Tucker Kraft going into the end zone, chat, for the touchdown. The Bengals are probably not going to sneaky get this one. It does look like the Packers are going to close the deal. They actually have learned from their first mistakes against Flacco earlier in the year, though, again, stylistically, a little bit of a different matchup, but we'll see if they score 17 to 20. Yeah, it would at least 17 to 24. Still at least be interesting. But Flacco does take his time on a drive, so he will need a Jamar Chase outstanding play here for the Bengals to keep this in strikeable territory. But yeah, again, against a good defense, they were able to find a rhythm in that short pass game, and able to, again, a slowly but surely type win. And I know maybe some of the defensive numbers, I guess we'll have to double check after this week and see where they land. Again, I don't know if it's better for the stats, obviously, that they're able to play this type of team as well. But they have been a playmaking defense, and they've created turnovers at times. I guess, no fumbles, and Dylan Gabriel playing a good game today, but 6 sacks. So they have the Bengals defense going, or Bengals offense going backwards. Bengals. Hey, yo, we got the Flacco thing really mixed up. Yeah, they got the Browns offense going backwards, several times for sure. And again, they're still making plays, not just necessarily, just straight up getting random stops. Hey, yo, chat, there's a fly in here. Can we get some kind of swatter, chat? A Venus fly trap? Can we get a plant in here? I don't know, but yeah, the Steelers just a very solid, like, show what they can do type of win against the Browns, where the fact they were able to stick to their formula and it was able to be successful was a good win about their identity and what team they are. And again, I don't know if it's a super high-level team. I don't know if we're watching them going, okay, is this a sneaky AFC contender? But they might end up by default in some weird range. Again, I don't know if you watch them week to week and go, again, as a Colts fan or, the Broncos or whatever, I don't know if you necessarily watch them and go, you're scared of Pittsburgh, but I wouldn't be shocked if they got a win against either of those teams in the playoffs. And then if they did, ascend up over the next level and maybe get, I don't know if we put the Chiefs on that level still, once we get to the playoffs, I guess we'll see if they're even there. But, if they were able to get, say, a win against Buffalo in the playoffs, would probably still be a little bit shocking at this point, even though, I guess we'll have to see where Buffalo's at by the end of the season as well, too. But they will at least, obviously be in the playoff mix. And the Roger thing not being a disaster at the end of his career is good. And I guess similar to the to the Favre thing. So I don't know. Maybe they will be in the conference title game. I guess that like what is Daniel, and he hasn't won a playoff game. He hasn't played in a ton, and there is some pressure moments there. And you do again. Rodgers has his own demons in the playoffs, but Rodgers and Tomlin have more experience in the playoffs than Steichen and Daniel Jones. And I know Sean Payton has a Super Bowl as well too, but definitely more combined experience than Sean Payton and Bo Nix, and more combined experience than Mike Vrabel and Drake May as well too. Hey, yo, chat. Computer definitely struggling today. Hopefully the app is not about to close down again. This might be the end of part 2. We're, of course, lagging around right now. So, if you guys are joining us and fighting through, hey, yo, chat, that's the Wi-Fi. That's not me. If you guys are fighting through, then we thank you, of course, for hanging. OBS crashes. Oh, maybe Kai Cenat is taking all OBS power from us, chat. I don't know. And they're just like, well, if we have to direct our services somewhere, we're going to make a call or two. But, yeah, either way, shout out to Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers for getting a comfortable lead in the record so far at 4-1. And again, you can't necessarily say a convincing win against the Browns, but it's still a pretty good win to go in there and, like we're saying, stick to your stick to your guns. And I don't know if those are the right things to say now, but go in there and stick to your formula, stick to your game plan, and get a decent win against a divisional opponent. Those can be weird as well too. So you never know there. But hey, yo, are we back, chat? I don't think so. I think we might just be in for a bit of a situation. Do we have to try to? Hey, yo, chat. We're gonna attempt to close out some background applications. Maybe something we should have done beforehand. I don't know. But we do run the risk of the computer just being like, oh, we're shutting down things now? Well, let's just shut down everything and see what happens. So forgive us, chat. Hey, yo, we're going to do what we can to continue to power the live stream. And this, I think, is our best bet. So, yeah. Either way, sometimes maybe we run out of memory in the podcast feed. You got to jump over to the YouTube for the full version. This time, you may have to jump over to the podcast feeds for the full versions. And there may be some copy, some paste, some editing IT magic that has to be in the works. But hey, yo, chat, we've got Shepard making plays now down the field for Tampa. So not Mbuka creating still. Baker distributing, getting guys involved, other guys stepping up is probably good for Tampa overall as a team. Hey, yo, chat. We might just be cooked. Is it Wi-Fi issues? I don't know. We'll have to see. We may have to do some investigating after this, because this is going to be tough to display background things. I guess we'll just have to settle on something real fast and choose from there. Hey, yo, it's taken us forever to just close out these applications. So I don't know if it's maybe, again, Rem, organize your computer. If that's the takeaway that we should have after this. But otherwise, yeah, again, we may just have to do some investigating after this about what is going on. I mean, we could just definitely restart, and that would be for the best as well too. Hey, yo, Chen, is that us? Okay, I was like, what just happened? I think we're now on some random, off the random, as I say, back road pause, uh, search engine. This Tampa San Francisco game, since this is entertaining one so far. There's really been a ton of chaos, and I guess it wasn't super chaotic, but 2:32 left in the game. Chance, the Titans do have the ball somehow. So, hey, yo, Max Crosby swoops in, gets the sack, 2-minute warning. They're going to probably close that one out comfortably in a couple of plays here. But Flacco, with 5 minutes left, if they get a pass interference or two more, then they may be able to move the ball. But he is feeding Chase, chat. We've got garbage time MVP potential Flacco. So here, let me pull other stuff up here on the phone so we can follow along with the other games. Hey, yo, chat. Apologies for the lagging situation. And I guess if the computer freezes, we're just not going to know because I don't know if we're going to be messing with it for a while. We're just going to, I guess, move the mouse around to make sure that we're going. The OBS icon says that we're still good to go. Okay. I think we are cooking. The show goes on, chat. Let's see here. What just went final? Maybe nothing. Did we just have the 3 late game windows? I think so, yeah. Okay, Titans, Raiders, Bucks, Niners, and Bengals versus the Packers. We see, but is Scadaboo now the best running back out of the draft class? I guess because Henderson has kind of had a slow start stats-wise. Judkin has had some good games, but this one, not great for the overall total. So there's definitely a name that I'm not remembering here, and we can double check who else I'm competing with. Is there an obvious first round guy that I'm leaving off the board from the 2025 draft? Running back wise, let's double check. Oh, G&T, of course. Yeah, so G&T would be the obvious one. Ayo. They get drafted too high, and we forget that they're competing with these other guys. Oh, and Hampton as well, too. So the first round guys, we're not remembering very well, but Henderson, in the mix here. I guess see if we can. Samson also for the Browns. Jordan James, San Francisco. Jaden Blue for Dallas. He's played the goose. He's making waves, but I don't know what his stats look like. DJ Giddens for Indy. Shout out. Ollie Gordon, Devin Neal, Khalil, Damian Martinez, Kyle Mangiani, LaQuint Allen, and Phil Maffey. Oh, Chad Louding off the board. Bill Crosby did have that PFF #1 running grade going into the week. So he might be #1 in terms of advanced stats stuff, but I don't know, just basic production. G&T might still be leading the way so far. Yeah, but Judkins is close. Judkins was close going into the week. G&T 349 yards. If just to double check if he's not day, because we haven't looked at that one recently here. Where'd it go, chat? Hey, yo. We've lost current games. Okay, we got it back. 54 seconds left. G&T has 75 yards. So you need to, have a little bit more separation than just the 2. But Scadaboo at 338, and him and G&T are tied for carries. And Scadaboo, I don't think, has played as many. Is he like one less game or something? And he has 5 touchdowns. So from a fantasy production standpoint, rookie of the year, G&T does have 2 rushing touchdowns. Scadaboo doesn't have any. So 4 rushing touchdowns overall. G&T, a few more yards in the mix. Jackson Dart, 167 rush yards as well, too. More than Harvey, more than Woody Marks, more than Henderson in the mix. There it is. G&T, Judkins, Scadaboo, Omari, and Hampton. Krosky Merritt, 43 carries, 283 yards, 4 touchdowns. So been the most, I guess, productive on his attempts. But G&T still leads the way just in terms of the basic numbers. So maybe just barely the edge if we're still voting. It seemed like a really good class, but it did seem like Judkins had a sneaky path there as well, too, to really continue to put up the production. But slow week, I mean, he'll be back as well, too. Tough game, divisional game. Like we're saying, that Steelers defense has been at least flying around over the past couple of weeks and making games difficult for the people But, hey, yo, chat, we just tried to check something and forgot that it's going to be impossible. It is what it is. Don't worry, chat. We'll be back stronger than ever with the hopefully the no lag live stream next time. Hey, yo, we'll figure it out. We'll clear some cookies or something. I don't know, but we'll get it working smoother next time. But if you're staying with us, of course, shout out. Geno Smith. Do we say outplaying? I guess Geno Smith with a better rating. Cam Ward 6 sacks, but Geno 17 to 3 yards, touchdown interception. Cam Ward can get his 222 for this game, but at least maybe now over unders. Do we know betting wise plus 225 is manageable? He's been at least in that range the last 2 weeks, so we'll keep that in mind. Geno Smith. Honestly, I get to 23 carries. Ooh, chat, he has as many. He's tied the carries for it. So kneel, they may just be running out the clock with these plays, and neither of them are going to be able to log another stat like that. But that is one, like we were asking about earlier. I guess we were talking about Hall 22. Okay, so Fields is one, chat. Hey, yo. We keep a running list. I don't know if it's a list that maybe is going to end up favorable or not. But Garrett Wilson, tough day. I can't believe we took Garrett Wilson in fantasy. That's another killer move. We should have just... I'm going to go back and look and see who we could have taken there. It'll be too painful. I knew having 2 Ohio State wide receivers would be a bad move. One of them was going to not pan out from a stat standpoint. And he ended up with a touchdown last week. So the stat line he was able to end up with. And maybe we should have traded him at that point when sold high on a good stats week. But maybe we'll have to wait around and see what the next good stats week happens. Or maybe somebody buys low. I don't know. But, hey, yo, having somebody in the Jets offense, Justin Field quarterback, is not a fantasy situation we necessarily want to be in. Do we snag like a T. Higgins for Garrett Wilson? Hey, yo. Because Flacco... Hey, yo, Flacco goes back down the field again. 8-4. A little bit 90. Do you even take... I was like, you probably don't even take Jamar Chase in the first round if we're redrafting. And somebody did. Somebody actually took him right before Jonathan Taylor. So, again, I took Jonathan Taylor before Puka Nacua. Clearly biased and obviously not the right pick, even though Jonathan Taylor is still a good pick, though not the right pick. Love down the field? Is that golden? Maybe now we have to lock in on the waiver wire chat and see, because other team. I can't see all of the team names. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Okay, right there. We are good to go. We just have to make offensive comments, and then we can see all the players after that. Apparently, that unlocks the ESPN app. But okay, Wicks is still on the board. Reed is still on the board. Yeah, I think Golden would have gotten drafted, Chad. So I guess I'd drafted Dobbs. Those are the 2 other guys. So wait, does somebody have Christian Watson? Because Jaden Reed and Wicks, I mean, those are 2. Win May as our backup, and he seems fantasy-wise like he might be looking like one of the best quarterbacks as well too. Henderson 4 points. I don't know if we want to buy up Henderson because I don't know, Packers corners maybe sneaky torchable, chat. I don't know. Though Jamar Chase did have 6 receptions for 110 yards and 2 touchdowns against Detroit last week. So was that even with Browning? Hey, yo, chat. Maybe Chase does want Browning as the quarterback. McLaurin is hurt. Okay, that's it for fantasy trade corner in our league. We'll cook that trade up a bit later. Back through the games. I guess Tampa real quick. 5:33 left, and they have the ball. So, whoa! They play. They're saying now. Is and left wing a little bit later. Who they because their defense is top heavy at this point, and they've gotten good performances out of some of the young guys, but still they need the star players there to increase the talent level of the rest of the team. But Texans, Giants, Rams, Cardinals, Panthers, Browns, Titans, Colts. I guess Niners, Colts could be a tougher game in there as well too. You know, Colts at home is yeah, best week. 30 for 200 plus yards for sure. 261, 10 by that, 12 via touchdown, 2 for a 40-yard touchdown bonus, for a 50-yard touchdown bonus. So yeah, he was getting the big plays as well too. And I think wasn't the other one to Booty at 20-yard touchdown, just all over the field in this game like crazy. Oh, chat, we're gonna get cooked this week. It is Monday night games. There is a potential there. And land trades offered as well. Should we taunt just because? I don't know. Let's see about chat. This is why we have to stick to the computer. Hey, yo, this is literally why we have to stick to the computer for this for sure. Lesson learned. Hey, yo, like, hey, yo, chat. We are off the rails at this point. Are we even talking about football? We're bouncing back and forth between my fantasy team and me talking about this computer lagging. So let's see if we can mention another game here as well. We had just mentioned Browns versus Steelers, Chargers versus Dolphins. Again, Dolphins 1-5 have definitely played more low win team this year, up near the top of the draft. I don't know if McDaniels has necessarily coached to save his job at this point, but he is around a little bit. There does seem to be a little bit of better energy, and again, they just obviously they haven't played full 4 quarters of great football yet, but it was a little bit. It was trending to see like could be the #1 overall pick this year. It could be the worst team in the league. And maybe, speaking of best division in football, maybe AFC East is the worst division in football with the Bills, or not with the Bills. That's not the first team that you should name, but with the Dolphins and with the Jets in that division. Both of them, obviously combined 1-10 at this point with records, but just that. But yeah, I don't know if we're gonna be able to dig this one up. This might be a little over our heads, and research this. We can look up maybe some of the more. Not on the fantasy stuff though. It's being a little tough. Obviously, just the points is the main thing that you need to know. But either way, it's gonna be ranking highly, and it's impressive. But shout out to Green Bay in Lambeau, taking down Joe Flacco. Hey yo, I don't know how much of a how much credit they're gonna get for this one, but you still gotta again give them a little for taking care of business and responding with big drives. Definitely controlled the game for the most part here, and Tampa now 30-19 is started to make this 2-score game against the Bucks as well too, or against against the San Francisco as well too. So we will take a quick break, chat. We just got to freeze on the microphone volume thing. Hopefully, after this break, stay with Eagle and go. Log into League Pass again? Oh, bruh. Maybe we should log into this stuff beforehand and just be more prepared and queued up. Oh, Cavs Celtics preseason prime time. Wait a second. Heat Magic preseason in the half. We missed the first half of that game, and then Denver Clippers preseason later. Okay, I know that. Are we gonna get Denver playing it on that? Warriors Lakers, not ESPN, but maybe we go over Bulls preseason game, or is it? Why are we putting a blackout restriction on a preseason game? I mean NBA. We got to do better. I mean, they're botting up this preseason game more than they're slowing down. You know, they're slowing down that preseason game more than they're slowing down this live stream right now, chat. I don't know. But we do have, I guess, the option, like we said, to watch Cavs Celtics. So that's to lose Drew Aller as well, too, for the season. So I know the type of guy that you do have a certain because I was trying to think, and I was talking to somebody about this as well too the other day, because that third Penn State loss was starting to become a major storyline, and we were talking. He was like, "Do you think he's gonna?" But I'll try to look it up on the phone and stay on topic, chat. It'll be good discipline practice for us to just be on a phone and stay on. Coach, the recruiting, the coordinating. James Madison. So he started at a couple of real small schools in 1995. I don't even want to say the name of this one because it feels inappropriate, but it's the name of a town somewhere, but I guess that doesn't make it appropriate. But still, I don't even know what league this is in. The PSAC East title? The PSAC PSAC? Hey, yo. The 21... Oh, that's just this program's history. Oh, I was just reading this program's history real quick. What's the team name? The Golden Bears. Okay, so I don't know if we're going to say the university name. Is it named after somebody? If it's named after a person, then maybe. But hey, yo, it feels like it's getting a little sketchy. So he went from there to, East Stroudsburg in 1996. He was the defensive backs coach, Division II, and then ended up in James Madison 97, Washington State, Idaho State, Kansas State, Maryland. He was well acclaimed, short at times, or a player to whatever, short from winning some of those games, and they weren't. I know at the end of the day, it's going to look back, and it's going to be a tough resume against some of those top tier teams. But it's not like they were always so far out of the conversation of some of those top tier teams as well too. And again, if we were making the Harbaugh comparison to him being at Michigan, Michigan was not his first major college stop. He was at, was he at like Fresno or something before that as kind of like his Vanderbilt? But of course, he was at Stanford. And then he didn't go from Stanford to, Clemson, or wherever. Dabo was probably there by then, or maybe Penn State would have been the place at that time. I don't know. But, he didn't go from Stanford to Oklahoma to Michigan and then continue to stay in college. He dabbled in the NFL. He dabbled in the NFL for a little bit, San Francisco, and then, of course, was at Michigan, and then actually himself stayed at Michigan for a decade because, again, Harbaugh's mobility ability himself. He can be a guy that can maybe have a little bit of shorter tenures at spots than we think. I mean, his Chargers tenure might end up being like a 4-year. I know they won today, but that's the kind of win where you're like, okay, I don't know if you're as locked in, and even for an injured team, it just doesn't seem like they're as locked in as a Harbaugh team as you would like. And that he's new. I guess also point being, I think that there's going to be a next play Franklin, and maybe he's a two-stop coach. Does he go to a major head coaching vacancy right away? Does Polymarket have like that is one of them? Maybe that's a little bit more niche than some of the big picture stuff that they have on here. Ooh, a lot of soccer stuff, of course, being promoted right now as well too. Here, college football, probably just some game lines. Yeah, a lot of game lines for college football. So, hey, yo, I wish we could do a little search with you guys in the back, but we'll just save it for today. It is what it is. The real ones, of course, can follow along and keep reading the information about the 49ers Tampa Bay displayed here, chat. Just Christian McCaffrey, 1-yard rush. Eddie Pinheiro, 1-yard rush. Eddie Pinheiro, 54-yard field. Over and over again. And memorize the drives here. But again, to not remember what we're going for college football. Let's see what is available. Because, UCLA, hey, yo, do they have their guy? They're playing well over the last couple weeks. They basically got James Franklin fired. And the problem is they want to get... Does PETA care about flies? We'll have to see. We'll double check the website. But list of coaches fired this season? Is this new, chat? Oh, September. Maybe this is updated currently, though. I guess maybe the article started on the 28th. Let me double check and see what we've got here. Oh, Arkansas, that's right. But they have Bobby Petrino? Is it Petrino? I forget. But Gundy. That's right, Oklahoma State. So you get to some situations where it's like, this head coach got fired, but his father-in-law plays golf with the athletic director of this college. So it's like they've had meetings before, and now that he's available, they both like, hey, this might work out. I don't know if James Franklin has ties to Oklahoma State in a real way, but just in too. But maybe Stan Van Gundy's next. There's another hand him the job as well too. But because they don't have the legacy guy like Paterno, who it's like, okay, well, you've been a good coach before and you coached us good, so hey, screw it, like we'll just give you the job. But we got, of course, Deshaun Foster at UCLA getting dismissed as well too. Hopefully he gets his name built back up as well. Again, I don't know if he's going to be another Power 4 head coach anytime soon, but again, maybe he's not a two-stop head coach. Maybe he needs a couple more places to rebuild after a tough start in UCLA. But Division II or something, he could definitely get another job, and there's going to be a place for him. And as long as he turns into contenders, he'll get a chance to work his way back up. But Brent Pry, Virginia Tech's not bad as well too. So here, let me just see. Do we have odds already for James? Okay, so again, he was, I guess, from he did coach at Vanderbilt beforehand. So if he went back to the SEC from a coaching standpoint, wouldn't be surprising. But again, he's gonna be a name as well too. Whoa, Florida. Okay, so he is a name, chat. Hey, yo, James Franklin at Florida. I do wonder. See, the Virginia Tech does feel like a fun move for him because you don't have the expectations to go in and win against Georgia, even in year one. Like James Franklin's gonna immediately have to start getting. I know there is the maybe like, okay, you get a year, but maybe a half a season. But that is instant expectations in a way that maybe it'd be fun to see him have time to try to build a program again. And I don't know, does he get time if there's a struggle there in the same way that maybe Harbaugh didn't? I don't know, because again, it is a different resume. I know that, and Harbaugh did have, I think, some bowl wins and, really successful teams. But again, he also had Andrew Luck as a guy that was in his system. And because he coached Andrew Luck at Stanford and then he went to the NFL and obviously obviously coached a good team around Kaepernick as well, too. And I mean, Kaepernick just is a talent, We have to give him obviously his credit for being as a talent. Okay. So I guess little teams were against Ohio State as well. Michigan since 2015. Oh, wait a second. Is this internet AI giving us an old stat? Oh, that'd be hilarious, chat. 2023. Yeah, it's pulling up articles from 23 and 22, I guess, for a couple years at this point. But 19 has faced top 10 problems. So obviously before we were winning the national title and going into that year and stuff. 5 and 13, it looks like. I don't know. We can scan this Reddit post real quick and see what we got. Okay, so this is from reposting this because I completely messed this up the first time. Okay, shout out for the accountability. So I guess whenever this was posted, outside of 2020, Harbaugh has only 2 losses to unranked teams and 0 at home. So unranked, a little bit different than just, different tier, lower tier level team. But ranked at the time overall, whenever this was posted, 15 and 19, ranked at the time of the end of the yeah, that over rivalry games, and then of course turned it into a national championship as well too. Chat, we're getting defeated by the lag and the fly. Honestly, I don't know if the lag is better or worse for the fact this fly is flying around, because you're gonna see us randomly trying to get it, and then the computer's lagging, but also maybe it doesn't quite show us missing it all the time as well too, as consistently as we are. But yeah, you do have again James Franklin, like we're seeing here, being heavily people are making eyes at James. In the bar, he's single and he is still getting numbers, chat. Make no mistake, James Franco James Franklin, James Franco couldn't even, I guess, could he? Hey, I don't know. Obviously the Keegan-Michael Key impression is the one that is the go-to. But if James Franklin and James Franco, it's on the list here that they're giving out. So shout out Sports Illustrated, chat, for us copying their list. I guess it is obviously there is limited with an article. What is, because the odds say it, that actually believe it. James Franklin's Penn State exit will ignite wild firing and hiring cycle in college season, ranked number 2, which was definitely a little bit too high. I think we all knew that, but Penn State invested a small fortune in this year's roster and coaching staff in the NIL. It will spend another fortune to remove it. Precisely where the intrigue begins. So this job will be in high demand. Presently, Arkansas, Virginia, Oklahoma State, Oregon State, and UAB are looking for new head coaches. Oh, UAB? Oh, Chad, is that our guy Dilfer? Did Trent Dilfer get moved on from? We'll see. What are they saying? It said that they moved on from head coach, but I don't remember if that was his team or not. So I guess just to call out whoever it was. We'll see. It is Dilfer. Oh, Chad, when he was taking the video on the sideline with his interesting. So if the coach, I think it's a good lane for him to be in. I think was he successful there? I guess I don't know the records of his. Him being on Rusilla's pod back then, and just the mentioning of that, it was like, okay, I agree. That's always going to be interesting thing to keep an eye on, and to see if it produces talent in that type of way as well too. And then I guess from there it's like, ooh, would Trent Dilfer coaching college? So maybe we'd be back to there at some point. But so I guess Florida's not technically a vacancy at this point, and the Google AI is putting it in here as something to definitely mention. But Oklahoma is in the SC. Oh, chat. Who cares? But yeah, he will again get another job, and if it is Florida, then that would be another obviously high level job. That would see, the thing is, I think Florida is actually a better job than Penn State. I mean, I can't say that for certain. I think the Penn State that feels like a biased SEC take, and you got a Big Ten fan. It's like you shouldn't say that, but maybe that's just me being that's a Big Ten rival as well too. Just I don't know if I'm subconsciously trying to disrespect him or not. I'm not trying to consciously, but maybe I am subconsciously. I can't really say. I'd have to dig into my subconscious, but it would just seem like Florida is a better. They've had a little bit of a better, at least 20th century than Penn State. Maybe on multiple levels. So I don't know if he would just go from getting fired. I guess it's not the first time that a guy's gotten fired and then gotten a better job. I mean, right now. But yeah, I don't know if you know they've got Kent State listed here, and I think Mike State and in the I don't even remember what their conference in. Are they? But yeah, Mike Gundy, maybe Mike Gundy to UCLA. I don't know if they just need a veteran. Obviously, coach a little more notable at the time, but you know, Virginia Tech, like I guess we got to give them some respect as well too. I guess hey yo, remember history. Bobby Bowden was Florida State, but who's the legendary coach? Is it Beamer? Beamer was a coach, but there is another guy as well too that I am thinking of. Oh, Frank Beamer. Okay, Shane Beamer, he's at South Carolina. Shout out. Career 56. So 3-3 this year. Not, you know, overall great, but, you know, Lenore Sellers has been good for him. Of course, 87 to, yeah, Frank Beamer is Virginia Tech. 87 to 15. So he's a little more than a decade into his run. They were first season, probably. Oh, first season, Mike Vick? Hey, yo, where's quarterback here? Ooh. Hey, yo. Do we have to go back and watch just the Virginia Tech portion of the Mike Vick 30 for 30? Or is the Mike Vick documentary I'm thinking about 30 for 30? I think it might be. But the Virginia Tech portion is fun because, you know, or maybe we just go throw on Mike. Okay, chat, you talk us into it. If the Chiefs-Lions game not well, then, you know, if it just turns into a boring game, then we will just watch Mike Vick. I guess that's when they were at their best, of course, is when they had him. Extended run past that as well, too. But, and that's maybe the culmination of him building that program over 87 unranked to 1993 22. So they gave him a little bit of a time there. And then they did start to turn it around. But they still gave him. But you do have, 6, I guess. Hey, yo. You do have 22, 13, 10, 10, 14, 14. So it did go up quickly there for a second, but leveled out in the teens. And then when you bring in Vic, you go 2, 2, 5, 3, 3, 9, 3. And then I don't know if he retires or what happens. I guess he goes up until. And their top 10, I guess we should say top 15 from 1994 all the way until 2012. That is an underrated level of consistency there, chat. I guess I shouldn't say they didn't finish in the AP in the top 15, but they had an AP high at some point in the season of a top 15 team. So in terms of completing the AP, they did have 1, 2 of those seasons where they did end up finishing unranked as well. Hey, yo, chat. We're just double checking to make sure we're still live here. At least the computer's still running. So if we're still live, you know, what's up? But, you know, we'll be back. Like we said, no technical difficulties, hopefully, on the Tuesday live stream. We'll hopefully try to get this cleaned up. So, yeah, again, there were some 500 records. A couple times they missed the AP in, you know, 23, and there was 1, 2, not always like a playoff level team. But at least they would have dabbled to check for his career, but to check for see where, you know, Franklin's going to be next as well, too, for his potential next landing spot. So, Les Miles before Mike Gundy. Hey, yo, shout out. So, Les Miles, Mike Gundy, James Franklin, that's a pretty good run of head coaches. That would make a lot of sense. For sure, you could see all those guys. Yeah, multiple seasons, Les Miles, at least 4 or 5 years there. So, not, you know, instantly giving up on him. But until this year, only 1 year where they didn't get a top 6, 7, 5. Oh, there we go. 2005. So yeah, he got up to 16th at the end of the season by 2008. So in only 3 seasons, is building a AP poll contender, anyways. And then from there, you know, they continue to climb up. He's got it in 7 seasons there. And then from Robinson to Whedon, like that's a pretty good run. Again, that's the guy. That's the other guy I was thinking of, as well too. Maybe Robinson was better than Whedon. I guess we'd have to go back and check the tapes. And I think like Spencer Saunders, one of the recent guys, I forget his name, maybe broke some records as well too. So there's some guys in the mix. Oh, Mason Rudolph. Yeah, there you go. Mason Rudolph's fun in college for sure. Ayo, but he could give you a good season. 20 chat. They finished 11th with Mason Rudolph. won the Alamo Bowl decisively versus Colorado, finished 14th as well too, led the conference, led all FBS players in passing yards as well too, 4,904 yards in his season in 2017. So incredibly fun offenses. I don't know if Franklin brings a little bit of a different style to Oklahoma State. So if Oklahoma State wants to continue to have high-flying offenses, then maybe we do have James Franklin as a guy that goes to Virginia Tech. Because if they go the run game, the defense, James Franklin to Virginia Tech as his next landing spot. At this point, I don't know who else is on the hot seat. I guess we could look up records and see who else is getting a little lower. Like his Wisconsin, but does he go to Wisconsin potentially and try that place out? Because that could be another one that does feel a little bit of a lateral move where, again, Chad, did Ibuka go down? Of course, I'm cooked for fantasy. That's it. That's why Tez Johnson was getting looks there as well, too. That would make more sense. Hey, yo. No credit to the Niners defense for, I guess, Ibuka stomping himself at some point, maybe. Who knows? We'll have to go back and check the replays there. But, hey, yo. It is what it is, chat. We had one good week of fantasy and we lost. That's just the way the season is going to go this year. But, yeah, we do have, I guess, similarly to James Franklin, our team is now spiraling. Guys are getting hurt. And fortunately, we're in a Jerry Jones spot where we can't fire ourselves. But we may. I don't know how we'll figure that out, but we may. Just to make it easier on our lives. But, yeah, from Indiana, Oregon was the other crazy thing that happened, which was not great for Michigan fans. I do think it was fun for college football fans, and but I think because the USC quarterback is something that is fun to talk about as well. Game is that like the best win ever in Indiana history, and I guess I didn't really ever think about how bad it had been for Indiana football here. But here, let's double check this real fast. In Indiana, you're going to get lucky that the computer is slow right now because we're just going to be pulling up this history for your school about how bad it's been in the past. But fortunately, just the San Francisco fans have to be mad right now because we're going to keep this score up for right now. But they have had, chat. They went 8-5 in 2019. Otherwise, they don't have a winning. I guess they went 11-2 last year in 2024, of course, and are running a lot of this team back, which is the main reason why they're so good. You know, the talent there a year in, and the 2 years we go. 2019 they won 8 games, and then outside of that, you have to go all the way. And with Signetti, real quick, was Signetti there in 18? No, he was only. He has only been there the last 2 years. So Tom Allen was there in back to 1991. 1991, 3-4. They were barely over 500 a couple of those years. But I think now we might actually be. I guess wait a second. 6-5. Okay. There's a couple of 6-7 seasons. Powerhouses that maybe not are in the same way. Like a school like shout out, but maybe like Nebraska, where it would be like, okay, obviously it's a little bit of a step back from where the apex predator level school used to be at. Or a team like Michigan that's like, why don't we have the constant level of top-end success the way that some of these other teams do and we're supposed to? But the fact that it was, they lost all those up until, making the playoffs last year, and then unfortunately, losing in that as well. They did win that bowl game in 1991, the Copper Bowl, shout out, and they won a bowl in 88. They won right at the top. I mean, here we go. Louisville is going to be his first football franchise to coach because of the lack of success by the other guys as well too. Sam White, Bill Mallory, Cam Cameron, Jerry DiNardo, Tom Hoppener, Bill Lynn. He is turned this team around. And, the Dan as well too to go on the road in one of the teams that we feel like with Dan Lanning can get up for some of those games in a great type of way. Really, he's is making their way as the next sort of great college head coach because we are in a space where we are here in a couple of fun wins to be able to lock yourself in that. Even a guy like Kirby Smart has 2 champions in that type of way. He's obviously he's obviously a great college football head coach, but the sort of top dog aspect, and we don't have a Team USA in football yet. I guess we do have the flag football thing happening. But Saban did have a little bit of that Team USA NFL kind of vibe to him, where sort of maybe he wouldn't have been a lock for a Team USA type of connection there as well too. Sort of the neutral field coaching element of that team could have been fun to potentially, or could have been a way to have it divided. Spoelstra is out right now, and I think they did just announce that Spoelstra will be, of course, the next head. He is in there 10 years, and you could see him being a great coach there for multiple teams. Very smart at this point. It feels like that's a little bit takeable, and it feels like that probably because he loses to Alabama every year, and it's not as in his game that he hasn't solved yet. I just think it opens up the conversation a little. Signetti is a guy that we get to talk about like this as well, and to get that level of production out of him was crazy, and to already have him as potentially a title team in the second year that he's there is incredible stuff. And I do think that is obviously an important win. But this could be the week in college football, and stuff will change. So I guess you can't say it too certainly. This will be good, and what teams are kind of inconsistent, and what teams are kind of what as well too. Because there's a couple of the top teams that lost. I mean, Michigan. If we got to be honest here and talk about our own team as well too. We were starting to creep up toward the playoffs, and maybe a win against USC with a couple of the other teams losing, we just get bumped to default this past week on the poll potentially. But because we lost, I do really think that we're probably not a top 12 team. Not just because we lost, but I just think in general we were probably not a top 12 team, and because we lost, now we're not going to accidentally sort of get that ranking by default of these other teams losing as well too. So that's what I'm saying. This week did feel a little bit confirming in some ways. There is some respect there. They do get a win against a good team against Oklahoma. Oklahoma, though, not being undefeated, it's like, okay, they're probably college football. It makes sense they would lose at some point. Ohio State won pretty convincingly to prove their level as well, too, as potentially the top college team. Yeah, it would be OSU, Miami, Indiana, Texas A&M, and Mississippi are undefeated. Texas Tech is undefeated, and that's another one. I get Alabama is maybe better, so them being ranked above them is okay, but I guess Texas A&M and Ole Miss will have to watch a little bit closer going forward as well too. But Texas, I think that they would maybe be top. Michigan goes unranked. Hey, yo. So that feels a little aggressive. Nebraska ranked over Michigan, and they lost to us. So I guess that's their only loss this year. So I guess that is a good win that we still have on the year. But, hey, yo, that seems a tad crazy. Texas at 4-2 goes into the rankings. Oh, man. That's tough, chat. Extend the rankings to 30 teams. Get Michigan ranked. We're right there. We'll be back. A couple of good more wins with Bryce Underwood at the helm. And the AP poll can't deny us. I mean, chat, if Bryce Young can turn this around, then Bryce Underwood can be okay. It is what it is. So, hey, yo, chat. I know we ended up with the technical difficulties on the live stream, and unfortunately, what ended up being the main bulk of the live stream, a little bit cut off there from some of the earlier stuff as well, too. But hey, chat, that's why you join us live on the Rem and Sam post a cool stunt. Off-balance landing is so scary, but it was I guess, I don't know why I'm credited to the defender. It was almost a front flip with the tackle the way it resolved. The defender initiating the flip part of it, but, regardless, Jameson Williams able to well forward, third and manageable. The Chiefs defense, a lot of scrutiny after that last play, and there really is no, forgiving of, but no excuse for a player like, of course, we'll say it, chat, of course, us on the couch having, no football experience in any sort of way. Like, obviously we're wrong, but, it's tough when a non-IQ guy like us has to be able to point that out. So they are a little big. We need to make those third down type stop revenge plays, but they've had a couple, hasn't happened yet, and there's been an ease here for the Lions in this first drive. 5 minutes gone already, chat, almost 6. Hey, yo, just milking the clock. You've got Goff only throwing when he has to. Oh, hook and ladder play, I think. Is this the hook and ladder? A free rush at Goff. I mean, hey, yo, I understand the concept of letting the defensive line get through to give you the space to be able to run that lateral going backwards. But I don't know if Chris Jones is the guy that you want to free up. Maybe the strategy is everybody block Chris Jones. But then him chasing one of those guys, like he could jump out and then tackle Amon-Ra randomly before he's able to make that lateral throw, or as he's throwing it and then throw him off. So, actually having him in the backfield could be a good play. But he also could swarm in and swat a pass or get to the quarterback before anything happens as well, too. Again, he's just a elite talent at his best. Like that, when he's actually trying, hey, yo, it is what it is. When he actually knows that he's the one that has to make the tackle. But at that time, Chad, he tried it again on this drive. It is what it is. We've got Gibbs right up the field on the first moving. Are we in a goal to go? First and goal. Ball at the 8-yard line. Uh-oh, chat. First drive script. The Lions offense is definitely a team that could be a very successful part of their game, is these early half type of drives. But it's been a little bit more than that early on. And for the Chiefs at 2 and 3, hey, yo, you can already see the expression on Mahomes' face. It's like we're in the fourth quarter and they're down 25. First drive, haven't even scored yet. They could hold them to a field goal here. It could be 3-0. Bend don't break. Like we could and be okay. It is second and goal. Again, it hasn't been great, but it could still be okay. So Mahomes already making that face, chat. Hey, yo, congrats to the Lions. We should the Wizards to win in preseason with Detroit. That would have been crazy. Detroit Wizards preseason minus. Hey, yo, Wizards fans wish plus 160, I think, on the money line. Do I even double check if they won that game? If they did, I'm gonna be upset. I knew we should have bet it just because they were plus. Would have been the reason. Oh, the Raptors won by 1 point. Oh, we could have got them to cover. But there's no scenario. Well, I guess there is a scenario. But there is, there's lower circumstances, lower chances that the Wizards are favored by 6.5 or have a plus 160 money line odds that I actually feel like they can win in the regular season more so than the preseason. I think some of the preseason odds don't adjust for the fact that these teams aren't, again, in that sort of regular season mode. So it's like, okay, just the Wizards at 160 to a team that I don't think is that good is just, I'm going to just take bends. Try some kind of tush-push run style play with Gibbs on the goal line, and they don't get it. So Campbell early on, Chad, I don't know if we look at the scorecard. I think we might have. I think the ESPN might have just spoiled it. Hey, yo, Lions move the ball up the field early. So they take a timeout. I think they might take a timeout. Round. Oh, chat. Is there a timeout? Did they hear it? Okay, it is, chat. I didn't hear it. Hey, yo, the stadium, they're making an effort to get this stop. So, we've got the Lions at 4th and goal. I was going to say, hey, yo, we can't tap out right when I feel like the Lions goal getting stopped at 4th and goal would be a hilarious way to end this, of a real cliffhanger. But we have a timeout and a chance for Campbell to see what he can draw up here for the last play. Yeah, for the last play of this drive, and I guess the last play that we'll watch here tonight. And the pass is, is this helmet catch 2.0? It might be, Chad. The defender McDuffie in there trying to make a play. I mean, he gets 2 punches at it, and Goff still is able to hold on. Whoa, Chad. So I don't know. The Lions may not want to show their work on that drive, but that worked out better than. Oh, Chad, what is 2 and 4 on the line? You get a passing touchdown, and now all of a sudden the Lions are going back 5 yards. I assume you would take the field goal at this time as well too, though maybe Campbell continues to get aggressive. But wow, even using up that play call on a penalty. I guess if the play call is a penalty, then, find a way to use it up. But hey, yo, chat. One of the best quarterback receiving plays of all time is totally wiped away.